a Friday afternoon. We used to have like a intro thing there, but it doesn't work anymore, I guess. Anyways, hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the final 2 hours of the week. It has been a pretty good day overall for the market. At this point, we are starting to bounce, trying to bounce a little bit anyways, for the NASDAQ, 0.6 to the downside still. The Dow has gone green. S&P back to flat, as we were saying, if you joined us in the pre-market this morning. Might be a quiet day. We are dealing with options expiration, not exploration, but expiring at the end of the day. So we could get a little bit of volume coming in on that. Still big down day here for oil. This was 5% at one point today. So we are bouncing heading into the final 30 minutes of the pit session. For crude oil, Bitcoin and Ethereum both in negative territory at this point, but hey, it's been quite the week for both, so we'll take it at this point. That's a look at the S&P 500 at this point. Again, basically flat now, just 0.03, 0.04. There's the energy sector I was mentioning this morning if you joined us. All kinds of pressure all day long in this group because of that huge move to the downside in crude oil. We'll talk about LYV here on that DOJ note. Going to look into Ticketmaster. So 8%, my voice is dying already, 8% to the downside for LYV, dragging some of the other communication services names to the downside, including Netflix there, Warner Brothers, Match, CHTR. Yep, there's GRND to talk about today as well. ROST 10% higher off of earnings. Wasn't doing anything in the pre-market, ends up being one of the biggest gainers on the day. Utilities, pretty strong on the day. Healthcare stocks are strong on the day. Software names downside. We have hardware and equipment makers in the tech group to the downside as well. So a mixed board to wrap up the week, as we said. Welcome in. We'll get into what we were discussing back in the pre-market this morning. If you joined us at 8:30, there's a ton of things to look at once again. More earnings in the retail group. We got more earnings to come, it's worth noting, in the retail group coming up next week as well. So yeah, it's a holiday shortened week, but still going to be a ton of opportunities. Neil is here. He's going to lead us off this afternoon with a look at one of his trades from this morning.
Welcome, your trade of the day brought to you by Day Trade the World as always, and today it's JD.com. And the best thing about this trade is yesterday you had Alibaba earnings, and this ties in to the JD trade today because they reported, but it's important to learn lessons from the previous day. So I'm glad we're able to bring this one to you because when Alibaba missed on revenue, and JD had a very similar chart. So I'm showing you JD on the 15-minute, but really Baba was kind of the same thing. And I was looking at both. I was basically looking to fade off of a downward channel on JD off the 55 level. And the key thing here is you essentially broke up out of the pre-market range, hit the next resistance level, shorted, got a little bit of a scalp, and then it broke out. But look at that reversal. Once it broke that channel, it more than doubled the range to the upside and was a great trend up. And Baba was the same thing. Yes, on Baba, same story. I had a very tight stop in there and, managed to limit the loss on that short. But it had the same trend up. So the initial move was wrong. The key area of decision was right, but did not reverse the trade. So fast forward to today. You've got JD reporting earnings, beating on top and bottom lines. Also a strong guide as well. So they are gapped to the upside. And I did like some levels back in. I like that 58. You can kind of figure out where that comes from. There's your 58 top. Support turn into resistance. That's not a bad theory. It's already selling off. Like when it gets up, and I'm like, give me a break. It's already past that 60 level and fading it. Early in the pre-market, I try a couple of scalp trades. Not that it went poorly, but at that time of day, you're so far away from the open that it's hard to have the level of confidence. I don't give it any gusto in here and only hold a small amount of the position. But I do know I like that 58 area. And here's where it gets interesting. Because right at the open, looks like we're grinding high. I'm like, okay, you can maybe put in a higher low at 58, range trade it out and get toward the high. That's what I'm thinking on JD.com. That's not what happens. What ends up happening is you get a capitulation candle almost right away. And pretty much everything you were looking at, or most things you were looking at, had just a huge flush at the open. And the way you get a fill matters. I mean, instantly, once I got that fill in front of 58, I was like, get some out, because that was way too violent to the downside. We can always regroup if it happens to settle down. So the first bounce I can get I do take out 2/3 of the position almost right away for a small scalp trade. That was more about relieving the pressure than anything else, because within seconds, this is a 3-minute chart, within a matter of seconds, it was retesting the low and then stopping out at 58. This all happens very quickly at the open. Now, I'm not saying at a key level you must reverse every single trade. That's not what it's all about. It's not saying you've got to reverse this and go short because it's going to go down. If you did that to every single trade, you're going to get whipped around too much. What you can do is when you see that move continue and just gap down this way and show so much weakness, you can look for the other direction. So rather than trying to catch the falling sword and say, where am I going long this thing? I don't know, am I waiting for 54? I'm just trying to pick out the long because that was my original thesis. Don't be stubborn about it. Say, I'm just going to wait for a short, and I want that one price. I want that key price area to be tested. So I allow it to come all the way back, get to that same 58, wick top 58, reject that break, short right underneath, and play it right back to that pre-market low. It's not about whether or not you can call with the direction of the market. It's about, can you set up a trade? And when you're wrong, can you get out of dodge? And if there's a trend, can you find your way into that trend? Also, can you learn from the mistakes before? Because this is going to happen to you sometimes, where you're going to be in the opposite direction, and because of that, you do miss out on the best trend. And no, it's not to say that the short was as good as the long was yesterday, but at least able to catch a piece of that short. Had I done the same thing in both Bob and JD in yesterday's trade, there would have been opportunities even if late to the game. So it's all about learning and getting better so that you can make more in your trading. There's your trade of the day. It's on JD.com with an assist from yesterday's trading in Alibaba.
Yeah, great opportunity for JD today. We'll still get more of these to coming up next week as well. Baidu yet to report, some of the other Chinese ADRs coming along with earnings as well. So all of that and more on that this morning. We should update that image. Just saying that is the old watch list. We should change that, Lucas. But anyways, hit that link, enter your email, and then you'll get the watch list every single day for free, just like that. A few things to note here to kick off the afternoon. AVDL just popping up here. Looks like a court case has gone in their favor, or a court decision has gone in their favor. A little pharmaceutical name. Moving around here on decent volume at this point, 1.4 million. Before this happened, it had only traded about 500,000. So there we go, just taking out the highs right now for AVDL. Again, a court case or court decision going in their favor. I saw this one pop up again on volume back to the upside this time. LYV down on that DOJ note, if you missed it. DOJ going to look into Ticketmaster, all on this Taylor Swift headline. So a ton of volume, an absolute ton of volume still behind this LYV on this notes this afternoon. We'll discuss a few things here. I mean, if anything else happens with these, we can revisit. But when it comes to these Chinese ADRs, they've been among the most active on a daily basis all week long. We've seen gaps almost on a daily basis, one way or the other, as these headlines surrounding some of the Chinese COVID rules come out. Today we're seeing more cases of COVID in China, so possibly leading to more lockdowns to come. What I'm eventually going to get to is the simple fact that JD was the one that came out and said these COVID lockdowns were not affecting them in the current quarter as much as some of the other ones, guys. So, oh yeah, there's a new host for the afternoon. Bradley Cooper is in for Sean today.
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, I love it.
They start with that camera. I don't know. So you guys can see my gray hair. That's what they start with that. I got the young man, Prad next. I've never gotten to do the main show with you before. We've stepped in the midday.
Yeah.
And then talked a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of fun here. I see you got a couple of positions on. Big seat to fill, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Like this Friday. Look, I'm not saying it's not free fall Friday.
No.
Because the market, the ES is flat and the NASDAQ is down 0.5%. But it has been a downward trend. So I'm hoping that you're happy with that because I know you like to be counter trend for a lot of your trading. I got to pull this one up because that LYV, took one look at it when the news came out. And when you miss out on like a death candle like this, or whatever you want to call it, like the news candle, you know I always look to fade that first obvious level. So it bounces, it gets to like 70, 71, like, okay, that's worthwhile. So it gets up there again, it's like, oh, fails the same level, short, short, short. And then the funny thing is, in the next 3-minute candle, it actually tests back up to the high. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look very good. So I get some out flat, then I get some out in front of the low, and then kaput. It just goes another $5 to the downside. So sometimes it doesn't age very well. But 65 support there for LYV. It could be a trade, although when you're late to it, I almost want to see it fail somewhere before I think about that short. When it finds a bottom, usually it's a pretty good bottom. So that 65 could be pretty solid. Brad, I see you're in Foot Locker. I'm going to kick myself over that one because I'm not in Foot Locker anymore. It's not enough to say you like 35. You actually gotta hold that long when you get it.
Yeah, 35 was a little bit of a painful long, I'll be honest with you. We did dip under 35, but the whole time I was pulling up the long-term chart on Foot Locker for our viewers, and I kept showing them, look at the 35 level. We were stuck on that level for a while before earnings report. So if this stock with positive earnings report is going to rip all the way into new ranges in pre-market and after hours, go to $40 and then come back down, my expectations would be we hold those bottoms or the tops, previous tops as new bottoms. So 35 actually coming into play for me over here. Still on the winning position for the long over there. 50 cents in the money for Foot Locker. But more importantly, Neil, I was actually looking at JD because surprisingly enough, what I noticed was on your trade of the day video over there, I had the exact same fill on JD. So if you pull back JD's yesterday's chart, you see the second turning point off the high of days. We actually turned off at 57. So that was my idea over there. If we pull back to 57, I'm going to try and short 57 areas. But what I noticed is you had the longs, which were winning for you. Eventually, you had the stop out, which stopped you out, and then you got back in. I enjoyed seeing that you and I had almost the exact same entry, but yours was a different setup and mine was a different setup. So that was something to learn off of a little bit over there.
Yeah, the difference being you were looking short. I got stopped long, and that caused me to look for the short.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like that was wrong. Okay. Well, if it's going down, then try to find a short. And look, and the point was yesterday because everybody saw that, and I can pull up. I'll go to Alibaba because I know that's what was brought up by Brendan there. And Alibaba was completely ridiculous. And it's the same thing. Like I showed you guys the JD chart for the trade of the day, but it's the same thing. I had exactly the same shorting concept on Alibaba. It was just worse when I didn't get the long because there was not just where I got out, then I got out and it got to even more key level and I could have flipped to the long at this point or at this dip or at this break or at this dip and yada, yada, yada. I actually shorted in the afternoon, believe it or not. And then when it finally worked, I wasn't in it. But, it's going to happen to you. And the key thing is learn from that mistake. I kind of wish I had just shorted the open on Alibaba, but I was determined not to be overly focused on the stock that I had the worst read on the day before. I find that's a good way to go. If you didn't read a stock well, maybe it's not the first thing you should be looking at when the market opens. But the short was fantastic right at the open.
Step all over Neil's toes. TGNA just popping up here. U.S. security agency has cleared. I didn't even know this was a part of a deal, but apparently if there was a deal involved with TGNA, it has passed security clearance. So TGNA just popping up. There's also this. Silvergate was moving there on decent volume. The CEO is still currently on CNBC. So SI getting a bit of a CNBC bump. Let's talk about Gap. Was on the watch list today, near the top, in fact, of the watch list today after a better than expected Q3 result. There were, I think, 6 or 7 different price target increases and mostly positive notes on this from analysts this morning in the pre-market. It was setting up to be a decent long opportunity. It ends up being a decent fade. What do we do with Gap here, guys? I mean, it is coming back into some decent levels, I'm just seeing, but Gap, a decent report, but as we've seen with the rest of the retail group this week, the result a little bit different.
I think you short these levels, so like 13.50.
I agree.
And I'm saying that as someone who went long this morning because I just looked at the setup, the one that I like on earnings, where you get a break on positive earnings, you put like a pullback in to establish a range, and then the pre-market basically shows you the exact same range as that the next day. Because then all I do is, I'm looking for the dip buy in front of the aftermarket support, and then play it to the high, which worked initially on the first 2/3 and stopped out. And when I try to do that and rinse and repeat, it stopped it out again, only to rally to the top, but put in a lower high, and then once it gave it up, it really gave it up. And then you just look at that same resistance. Okay, support, and that looks like resistance to me. So having not pulled up gaps since I exited the long, I kind of like these shorts in here. If the market's going to continue down, I feel like you're going to have some fundamental reasons why you don't like it. But I was just looking at the technicals here, and they do support shorting it around this 13.50.
No, I had the exact same idea you did. So I actually punched in short as soon as Brendo brought up GPS or gap. I looked at it. I saw the chart at VWAP. I saw the previous turnaround that you were mentioning too. So I figured, hey, the risk to reward on this trade is ridiculous. I'm maybe risking 10 cents at best for a possible move right back to $13 or even right back to low a day. Like Neil said, if the market does sell off one more time, this could be a short that we could work with and fade it for the second time to the downside. Not expecting as big of a move to all the way to the lower days. Obviously, with the monster reversal, V-shaped recovery right back to VWAP, $13.50. Gonna have to wait and see if this trade will work out for us. But risk to reward play coming in right now for GPS for us.
Ooh, here comes NVIDIA.
Which one it was yesterday? But we were talking about a stock off earnings yesterday about this time that had. It was very, very strong, gapped up, and then just did nothing. Or maybe it was down. I can't remember. Anyways, this one, Palo Alto, if you joined us in the pre-market this morning, we were discussing another great quarter for PanW. Numbers were good. Forecast was good. It was a huge move after market yesterday. We gap up even further today, and then it looks like this. Just absolute sideways chop, holding this gap for the most part until basically 10 minutes ago or so. But still 6%, a decent day for PanW here, but not much to do on the intraday basis.
Yeah, this is like how many stocks are there just like, I wish I was short, I wish I was short, I wish I was short. Watch out for NVIDIA. It's testing as 153, which is generally speaking my out. It's not at the even, but I'm giving it a little bit past that. So could go. Market is testing higher. I do have a couple longs. We'll get to those in a quick second, but just want to make sure I adjust my stop for that. I also have Airbnb. That's another short in front of that 97.5 as the market bounces back up. But PanW was I like the long. I like the stock. It trades at a bit of a premium because it's still pretty expensive on a PE basis, but it's just been an absolute monster. And generally speaking, when you have that gap fill like it did, broke above, I'm looking for longs in front of 168. That's what I did. Took it to the high of the day, reloaded, it bounced up, got another $1 out of it. Still got a couple bucks, got $1. That got trailed out of it, went right back to the well for the third time off 168, got $1, and then it stopped out, and now it's been trending to the downside. So it held support. I didn't really go for the flip. I mean, I had a couple of names. If you watched yesterday's afternoon show, then you probably know why I like the Airbnb short. That's why I'm in that one. And NVIDIA, yesterday I wasn't short NVIDIA, and today I've looked at it for weakness. But I didn't like the flip in PanW. But I wanted to answer a question that Prad just asked me, and I don't think twice about this, but every now and then I show you guys a level 2. And Prad said, why do you have all these zeros past like the 167 and 5 cents? Why do you have all these trailing zeros? So the story is, when I started trading, many of you might have heard this story already, that I started trading penny stocks. As a day trader, like my first success. I actually momentum traded, and then I got success early trading penny stocks, and that's where I first made money, so I kind of focused on that. But back in the day, you used to be able to trade to like the 10th, 100th of a cent, and you could it wasn't hidden, like dark pools. Like you'd actually be bidding 29, 14, and 15, 16, and getting fills on pretty much anything that was relatively cheap. And you'd get rebates on penny stocks. You used to not be able to do it. So I just got so accustomed to seeing all these trailing digits that when I stopped doing it, I can't look at a level 2 without it. It's bizarre to me. Like it's weird. Like I've actually tried to look at a level 2 where I'm not seeing extra decimal points beneath, and I can't. And it's a weird thing. It's the same thing with the colors that I have. They're the exact same as when I started in 2003. I can't look at a level. I've tried what you have where And it actually makes sense to have it a little more calm, like you have on your level 2. If you can show Prad's screen for a second. Go to Prad's, there we go, where it's essentially like it's different shades, but it's not all loud like mine is. I've heard the logic behind it, and it makes some sense to me. You don't overreact to the loud colors in the price movement, but you do what you're accustomed to.
It's more for the eyes, because, you know, as a gamer, I've seen how bright colors affect me, and like they really tire me out. And if I'm sitting here for 8 hours throughout the day, I don't want my eyes to get tired and then me to make irrational decisions based on me being tired. So a lighter color form, a nice gradient way. Obviously, these are all. It depends on person to person. Depends on how you have your keyboard set up and everything. So. And none of this means like, oh, this will make you a better trader or whatever. But yeah, what I've noticed is all those colors just tired my eyes out a lot. So I have that gradient fill. But yeah, Pan W is what we were talking about. And Pan W, no experience ever trading it in my 2 years. I have seen the stock move around off of earnings reports, and for some reason just never really traded it. Today looks like it's the exact same play like some of the positive reports that have been coming out, such as JD, GPS, and Pan W in the same basket. It's been fade the earnings move play the whole day today. Sadly, that's probably because the markets have been going to the downside since the open. NASDAQ down 0.45% at the moment, and S&P 500 positive, but only up by 0.04.
On to a big mover during the midday today, and that was Cassava Sciences. If you missed it, there was an offering that came out on this one. What time was it? 1:30, right on the nose. They announced a $50 million direct offering, 35 down to 30 in a flash. We are getting a bit of a bounce here into some decent levels here, it's worth mentioning, for Cassava Sciences. These Alzheimer's-related stocks were very active earlier in the week on some headlines regarding Roche, but haven't really done much since. But there it is, 50 million on the offering. Intraday offering at that for Sava.
So here's what I'll say very quickly. The 200 period's at like 31.50 on Sava. I don't know which one. It's Sava, I think. I'm probably right about that. If I'm wrong, you guys can at me. You guys can let me know in the chat. But it's oddly enough doing absolutely nothing at 32. And I've kind of been looking at this saying, okay, well, you get back below, check through that 31.50. Let's think about the shorts. And now it's not doing a thing. However, there is this guy or person, or order, I should say, just randomly sitting here at 32.40. It's been there a while. So 87,000. It was actually, I think it was 90,000 shares. So it's probably been filled a little bit. But it's legitimate. It's been sitting there. It's been getting pecked at a little bit. So it's probably going to have to chew through that. Now, it's done 3 million shares. So 80,000 shares isn't a lot. But you can see on the tape, it's not exactly like this is a stock where chunks are going through. And even then, when you see 1,000 or 800 shares, that's on the dark. Like, where the lit fills going through, and I mean like gateways where people are posting the order, 5 shares, 5 shares. Like, you're not seeing anyone actually put any real trades through that aren't going in the dark. So that's a legit order that's going to have to chew through. And that's exactly why you're seeing it hold. Like, that's at 32.40. This little top is 32.40. So until it moves away from this price, I'm probably staying away from it. The issue with trading in front of a size like that, like on NVIDIA, there was someone following the stock down, and you trade in front of that size. Because if that level breaks and that size is gone, there's liquidity on NVIDIA. If that order breaks and you go size in front of 32.40, this is Cassava Sciences. That guy gets filled, and you have size, and you don't hit that person, well, then it could be $1 against you in a matter of seconds. It's a very different kind of ball game. So I'd prefer to stay away from Cassava Sciences here, unless if it starts dropping down, I don't mind shorting it if it breaks 31.50. But in here, I'd have to see it break out of the range to do anything. And just a couple of notes here I want to get to, because I'm in NVIDIA. I know you guys had it like this. This is when the size guy was there at 52. It then rolled over at 53. That worked back down into a higher low, but it's kind of trending back to the upside. I just reloaded in front of 153, so I'll get some out probably in the low to mid 152 range. But this might be trending up, and of course there you go. Ugh, keystroke error there. Flipped a stock on you guys when I'm trying to get a bid out. So anyways, gonna get some out, but it's trending back into the upside. So I gotta watch out as this market is trying to range bound, but slightly glide higher. But I am reloading this. I reloaded on Airbnb as well.
Talking about Cassava Sciences, or talking about Sava, Cassava Sciences. I was actually drawing out some levels on the daily chart. You know, when in doubt, zoom out. One thing that stands out to me, notice how this consolidation range back in September, those bottoms came into play today, and we broke this consolidation range in November and at the end of October, obviously breaking that. And today's high, pretty much the exact high from yesterday. So we're playing in beautiful ranges over here for Sava, and I think as the stock is exactly at the range over here, the consolidation range high, which also coincides with exactly what VWAP is right now on the 5-minute chart for this position, $32.23. Oh wait, this is at 34, so we're actually over here. We're down at 32. Never mind, that does not coincide with VWAP at the moment. I thought it did. So we're in the middle of the range over here. I would like for the stock to much rather pull up to 34 if I want to short it, or pull down to $30 if I want to short it. Looks like we're in the middle of the range for this play, and no real play for me right now, but something about it, you know, the fact that the stock pulled up to VWAP and is not really able to climb above VWAP. The market's also not able to break out of the ranges that they've been in. Here's the markets chart that I have to the right side of the screen. This is the S&P 500 futures that you guys are looking at. This one over here is the NASDAQ futures, both of them to the red side today. Well, S&P 500 positive, but barely positive. So we're waiting to see if Sava, which is already negative on the day, will once again reject VWAP. But, you know, I made my mind up already. I'm not going to make a trade in the middle of this range over here, the November range. I'd much rather wait for it to pull up to 34, which actually is the pre-market lows. Wow. So I'd much rather have it pull up to pre-market low, short that, or go long near 30s.
Yeah, volume kind of dying off here as well for Sava. We'll keep an eye on it, though, see if we can get some opportunities going into the final 90 minutes of the week here. DraftKings, I just noticed, popped up here on some volume. They're talking about it on CNBC right now. Looks like a Piper Sandler analyst on CNBC talking about the bull case for this one, DKNG. Worth noting, having a pretty good day compared to the rest of the market. Let's go over to AMD. Actually looks pretty similar here. Back to the downside out of the gate this morning. We were wondering if these were going to show some strength and be a long opportunity at some point. There was a positive news catalyst, I should say, for AMD today on a patent infringement case that went in their favor. We also had AMAT earnings. That was the main reason to be looking at chips today. Back to the upside for AMAT on a good report. But it's been a little disappointing, as we saw there, Neil, with NVIDIA as well, kind of grinding here at day lows.
I came in today thinking, okay, if it's going to be shorts for the chips, I like NVIDIA. And if it's going to be long, I like AMD. Now, I was long at the open, and this is the first 3 minutes. I have a 3-minute chart up, but the opening candles on anything that does any volume all look pretty much exactly the same. This is 9:30. I liked 74.5. I got filled in front of it. I got stopped out, and then all within the same 3-minute candle, I'm then long in front of 74, getting a 50-penny win right back, reloading it, and this re-entry point at 74.09 that got stopped out when it broke 73.90, that took a matter of seconds. Like the reload was like, oh, I've got back in. Oh, I'm out. Okay, don't need to be in that stock anymore. And then just trended to the downside. Now, just learning the lesson of reversing into a short, which I didn't do. I started looking for NVIDIA shorts. But if you look at the initial bounce, right, like that first candle down, that bounce, and where it gave liquidity, that was back at that 74.5. What's that? Oh yeah, that's yesterday's high. So you look at that resistance, and when it flushes through, once things settle down, where is their price acceptance? Where is there an equilibrium? It's right back over here at 74.5, and then it plunges. So when you're looking for, like a short opportunity, where do you join into the party? Like it's not enough that it consolidated there, but when you realize that that was a good level the previous day where there were sellers, well, then it makes sense that there would be some down there or some stops that are waiting for the opening range to maybe throw some stops in instead of wanting to get stopped out at 9:30. So that's what happened. NVIDIA, just going to give you an idea, that did just come back down into 152. So I did just get that one. I don't really have as many of these to throw around, so I'll put some of the old ones up there. That's the old bear one that we try to use. And Airbnb, just very quickly, similar story on Airbnb, only I didn't get this trade on Airbnb. Nobody got, if anybody that got shorts at the open, you were sitting in it in the pre-market, or you know, you had to have, like, if you had like a clean 100 break, you probably got something there. But it was almost like you had to join the party after it consolidated. And then I've been shorting every single pop on Airbnb, so every high or low, including the last one. It hasn't been able to break 97, or 96.5. So in front of 97, I will get some more out there. But it's more about the pattern of what you're seeing. And then the reason for this trade, I know we're done. I'll let you talk about the chips in a second, Prad. But
No, you're good.
I gotta give the shout out because it was here about 24 hours ago when someone typed in the chat, why are you not looking at Airbnb? Because Sean and I both like shorts for most of the day. They weren't working out, and Airbnb was only going down, right? So here we're looking for short trades, and here's a stock that was weak the entire day, and I never even looked at it. But then I said, the first thing I'm going to do when I sit down tomorrow morning is I'm going to look at Airbnb, and I'm going to look for short entries. Now, I wanted to short off of 102. That would have required sitting it in the pre-market. I didn't get it. But then when it broke the low at 99, I was then looking immediately to just fade back in front of that low. Like, it was the first thing on my mind when that flush came down. So you're able to catch that and stay net short. Maybe it breaks up. Maybe it takes out VWAP here, and we're done. But you got to learn the lessons that the market wants to teach you. Otherwise, you're just kind of bouncing around and not going anywhere. So a shout out to you guys in the chat for pointing out Airbnb. You always want to find relative strength and weakness. It makes things so much more simple.
Something that I noticed while we were talking about chip stocks is AMD actually had a big volume candle, rejected the 100-period EMA, dove right back under VWAP, and a big volume candle to the red side just pops out of nowhere while I was actually watching SOXX on the NASDAQ market. This is your chip stocks ETF. I know a lot of people in the chat look at SOXL, which is your 3 times leverage ETF on the Amex market. I like to look at the ETFs directly that hold the stocks because they move based on the stocks move, whereas the 3 times leverage ETFs, they move based off the options move, which are off this SOXX overall. So I'd much rather go watch SOXX directly. And what we notice on SOXX is the fact that the stock is not able to, or this ETF, sorry, is not even able to get above VWAP or even close to VWAP. We've been constantly rejecting the 100-period EMA ever since 10 o'clock today. And that rejection of 100-period EMA has stayed true even continuing into today, even continuing into this moment right now. So AMD, big rejection volume candle coming in off the 100-period EMA for itself. I'm switching over to NVIDIA to see if NVIDIA had some sort of equivalent candle to the downside in terms of volume or in price, and I'm not seeing that. Since I'm not really seeing a trade setup for myself in the chip stocks right now, I'm actually going to quickly head over to Foot Locker, almost at Fruity Loops again. I'm going to head over to Foot Locker, take some profits off the longs off the bottom. That 35 bottom, ladies and gentlemen, this might be an emoji for Sean, but Chef Prad in the building. I'm chefing it up. I'm cooking up the longs over here. You would have never guessed that Prad can put the longs on board, but here we are. We can do everything. Jack of all, master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Let's go.
Who cares? In trading, you want to have a bunch of tools in your bucket. And I'll tell you this right now, you guys know exactly the two, well, you don't know, but you can see the 2 stocks that I'm long. You should not be surprised. Someone in the chat was like, Macy's is coming to the downside. Where is it at? Or are you in position? You guys know it was 2202, but also GM to the long side at 39. Waited all day when I didn't get the break in the morning for it to get to 39. Now it's here. But Brendan has something for us.
I want to mention this crude oil on a big spike here, guys, right at 2:30, which is the pit session close for the pit session. We still get electronic trading, but what a wild day for crude. I mean, early on this morning, 82.50. We go all the way down to 77.50. It was down 5% at the lows. We finished the day just 1.8 in negative territory, but huge spike there right at the pit session close for crude.
That is, and look, crude had a crazy move to the downside. But just to quickly, I wanted to finish the thought on GM here, because now that it's through VWAP, like, I got the bounce that I wanted. The market's weak, so it is relatively strong, and I want to hold on to it, give it a chance to get back into 40. But at some point, if the market continues trending down, I'll slap a trail on this. I don't want it getting back between 39, under 39. It's a bit of a different story with the Macy's bid at 22. First thing, I don't need to still be sitting here on the bid, because I wanted to get, so it hit 2202 where I was sitting on the bid, challenge the bottom, try to take it out. And remember, I was sort of saying in the morning, yeah, if it challenges the level, you got to see it try to get down to here, the afternoon, or the early afternoon, I should say, bottom at about 21.85. It didn't make that move, so I tried to get a few more on the way up, didn't get it. I basically scalped some out and then was pretty convinced I was getting more shares. It never happened. But this isn't a more violent retracement. It can't seem to get past VWAP, and you saw what's happened to Gap as well. So I'm not as inclined to reload, and if I can get VWAP, I'm going to take it on the last leads. I was a bit disappointed with the bounce in Macy's. GM had the catalyst of Investor Day yesterday. Macy's really, when you have an element of squeeze to your move, a lot of time there's going to be sellers that come in, especially when a related name shows weakness. But yeah, it's still, even if it were to break down, break the lows, this is still kind of a stock trending up that has a chance to hold the 200 period. So this is worth watching next week. If it does try to get back down to like 21.50, that's a big, big previous level. I could see it bouncing off that again. The dip buy was okay. I'd say GM was a little bit more clean than Macy's was.
Off the crude topic that Brendo just brought up, I just decided to look at Oxy to see if we can find something for ourselves in there. Oxy did manage to just now pop up a little bit past $71, but we're retracing that move now after creating a new high a day. It's been create a higher low and a higher high ever since we hit that bottom of $68.60 for Oxy. Obviously, part of this move was probably because the crude futures were down off the open and so on, and later on, as you saw on the charts earlier, the move to the north side, helping Oxy really get back to the upside itself and only be down about 0.5% on the time at the moment. Oxy was most likely down a little bit more than that previously, and looks like we were almost trading in the exact same range as yesterday for Oxy, so a little bit of a inside day for this I almost said, favorite petroleum stock in the world. Maybe not, but
favorite petroleum stock? That's not mine.
What would you say is a favorite petroleum stock?
Whose favorite petroleum stock?
The most biggest petroleum stock out there.
Well, I mean, look, the answer to that question is going to be XOM.
XOM.
A lot of people like Oxy because, well, not because of the Buffett thing, but it's because it's a day trading tool. It's probably it's like kind of like NEO's like the better.
The liquidity in it, maybe?
Yeah, people like to trade NEO because it's better liquidity than XPeng and Liado, and it's not Tesla.
Right.
People like to trade Oxy because of the way it moves and the liquidity in it, but XOM is probably, for me, just as, if you want a dividend play, I kind of prefer Chevron, but it doesn't really matter. But so XOM for real, and then probably Oxy for trading, and then you get your the IMPPs of the world that really.
I would say my best is CEI, because you gotta love those meme stocks squeezing all over the place.
But
those
IMPP was the same thing.
Yeah, it was.
When you get outsized moves in energy, like that's sometimes the day trade, that's where you want to go. Now they haven't been moving that much, and I want to talk about Apple here. But I'm going to apologize in advance because every single time I clean up these dark pool wicks at 135, they just come right back. And it happened to me yesterday too. So I'm not going to, I'll do it one more time. It's probably not going to work. But I've been bidding in front of 150. I got trailed out of that when it took out VWAP at 151. So it was a good long this morning. I didn't hold it to 152, but if we see 150 again, I'll be back on that bid. It's just going to be really ugly for me to be able to show it to you. I want to show Target up as well for a couple secs here. Target did give up that top. Come on. There we go. Target did give up that top. And I had the long for this, kind of was breaking 162.5. It did get up to the top. This was not actually me going short. This was me getting out of the long, re-engaging it. So when I actually had a take profit at 165 when I covered the trade. So this was marked to sell. Our system codes anything not marked to sell as a short sell. So when I got out of it, I got right back in on the break, scalped it. Then this was me going short through 64, asking myself, why do I want to go short this stock? I only like it long, and I got out. And then when it started breaking down again, I was like, this looks like a pretty good short. And I got out of it right away. I'm like, I don't want to go short this stock. So I'm going to stick to the whole. I only liked the long before on Target. And if it can get back up a VWAP, I'll be looking for longs. Because every time it made a break, I'm like, I like this break. I'd get the break and then immediately not like it. So it happened twice in a row. So I'm not going to hunt for shorts. A lot of times I look at a floor like this in the afternoon, and it's like, let's just go short 162.50. I'm kind of staying away from it. If it breaks that level and consolidates below, that's one thing. But just on the break, I don't want to have that trade. Oh, speaking of moves to the downside, thank you very much, Airbnb. That just got into 97, so we're able to get 97s again. We'll rinse and repeat that 97.5 to 97 to the low of the day. It's been giving it to you pretty much all day long. There's really nothing wrong with that. And yeah, I like this. I like you, John Mark. Can't go wrong limiting risk. There you go.
I'm wondering.
It's true. It's true.
Sorry about that. I'm wondering how much of Target's move is actually leeching off of Walmart, because Walmart had a positive earnings catalyst. Target had a negative earnings catalyst. Target did say that they got better with their inventory problems that they were having in the last quarter. So obviously that's a positive catalyst overall. But Walmart, I think, is honestly single-handedly saving Target. On the earnings day, we saw Target go down and then pull back up. Today, we're watching Target stay positive when the markets are red. Usually, it's a trend that we have seen before too. You know, the markets are red, and these retail giants, Costco's, Walmart's, and Targets have always stayed green when the markets were, well, maybe not always, but have usually stayed green when the markets are red. So I'm almost convinced that the Walmart over here is the ringleader and is dictating the move for these other stocks. I would also love to go take a look at Costco real quick to see if that stands true. Has Costco had their earnings yet?
I don't think so.
And then there was a miss. Or
well, Costco's been weak today, by the way.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to gloss over Walmart, because this is a 15-minute on Walmart. So if you can tell what I'm waiting for on Walmart, it is when it can clear this 150 level. Now, it's broke every single day. It is broken 150 every day. For the last, well, I mean, not every day, but like the last four trading sessions. It's when it gets there, it breaks the level, and then it rejects. Breaks the level, rejects. Doesn't happen yesterday. Breaks the level this morning and rejects. At some point, you know, you either reject this and have a real flush down, probably to 144, or you break out 150. And the way I see it is, whenever that happens or however that happens, 150, 25, I'm long as a day trader. You give me a stock doing this, and you give me a shot as a day trader. It doesn't have to hold above. Like, you see these wicks when it breaks, like it'll break out here and then immediately reject. So swinging it hasn't been that good of a play. But as a day trader, like this break here, the initial one, that's like 130, 50 or so. That day gives you $2 and it's clean. So the day it does the 150, I'll be perfectly happy to take 150.25 into 152. So I got my alert that'll be set up for that on Walmart. I'm eyeballing this all next week. Even though the earnings are done, the trend looks pretty solid, and it's holding the top of that trend. We actually talked to Michael Noss about this morning from Trade Ideas. We said, look for that gap up on earnings. Go to the 15 minutes. So you look for the gap up on earnings, then look for the stock to consolidate, then look for the stock to break out after that. It's one of the more simple setups that you can use when you're looking at post-earnings trades. Now, you can use it for a swing trade. I like it for a day trade. We discussed going long off the bottom support. That's fine. That'd be 145. We get that. We like that for a day trade as well. So lots that you can look at that are available in earnings season. I love like the after 2 or 3 days or the following week, look for that clean breakout when you get this set up.
Stock that I'm going to be having on my radar for Monday, it's going to be Shopify. Shopify did manage to get back into the earnings day range. So we broke out of the earnings day range not too long ago. I believe the day that we did was November 11th, which was $36 high. We broke that. We went up to $42 almost. But now we're getting back to that $36 range, which is this range high over here for Shopify. So going into Monday, as Neil was talking about that 150 level for Walmart, he's going to have alerts for that. I'm actually going to steal that alert from you, Neo, and set it up on my own computer over there, so, you know, call it my own trade. We'll talk about Shopify in a second when we come back from Brendo.
Just saw a note on Honeywell here. A few comments coming out on from Honeywell. Looks like they're reaffirming their full year guidance here, guys, as we head into almost the final hour of the week here. But not moving on that, but worth a note. Again, reaffirming their full year guidance there for HON.
So Shopify, I was talking about this. So if it does re-enter the 36 range and break it, go down, I think we can find some beautiful longs somewhere in this range. Not sure where yet. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm expecting that $36 area to hold if Monday and going into next week, it's all green, all merry, and all beautiful colors to the green side show up in the market. So we got a long way for that. We got the whole weekend for the markets to digest. We'll have to wait and see how cryptocurrencies trade over the weekend. If the Winklevoss why twins want to dump more of their position over there and put pain on the cryptocurrencies. Though that will most likely bleed into the overall market. It's just a trend that I've noticed that if the markets are up, if cryptocurrencies are up on a day in pre-market, then usually our markets also go up. And if it's vice versa, if they're down, cryptocurrencies are down, our markets have been trending to the downside. So I would like for that to start moving to the green side, take our long-term portfolios up, and also give us beautiful longs for the intradays.
I will tell you this much though, like, for the long term, if I was as young as you, and I'm obviously not, and it's not, you never want to cheer for the market to go down. Like, we all get that.
Yeah.
But if I was as young as you, everyone's saying, oh, the market's going to crash, it's got another 20 or 30% to the downside. When you're young, that's actually what you want to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because someone asked if I traded 2008. Obviously, I've been trading a while, so yes, I did trade the crash. There's nothing fun about it. I'm not going to sit here and deny the pain that people felt. But if you were a trader, that was an unbelievable time period. And if you were young, it was an unbelievable time period to have been making anything and been able to put it into the market. So you're not cheering for it, but if you have the opportunity to take advantage of moves like that, you want to. Speaking of moves, this is GM. We'll get out of it. Rang the register on it, but I kind of felt, I said I'd put the trailing stop in here, and I did like VWAP, and the market was turning. And because I feel a little bit bearish about this afternoon, I could have given it a little bit more. I tried to see if it could hold the top end of the range, and I'm out of this one now. We'll get away from it. Macy's is starting to come down. The shorts are really coming in. But you know what broke upside? Cassava Sciences filled that order and broke upside. A consolidation like this, in other situations I might consider a long. Given the offering and given the nature of Sava, I just don't like going long on a break of something like this. Like, I prefer looking for shorts in Sava. And really, if I was going long, I'd want it kind of off like a huge support level or off a moving average. That's got to be 30 or that's got to be 31.5. So I'm sitting it out, but it did make the clean break. So if you took that breakout long, congratulations for you. That big order did get filled pretty clean. It took it out clean. I mean, pretty clean there. So we have to respect that. The market, I kind of feel like we're back in that dilly-dally mode, or what do you guys call it, the sideways action. Look at the 3-minute on Tesla. I wanted to come back, look at Tesla here. 178 to 178.5. That is the old no-fly zone for Tesla, which, like everything else at the open, there was your trade. And by the way, get ready for a lot more of this. Instead of pointing at it, I should show you guys like this. Get ready for a lot more of these types of moves at the open next week, because when you have a holiday week, you will have less liquidity and people still trying to execute at the open, which will mean more traps like these, more big runs like these, and then hopefully some nice continuations to be able to join the trend. So you can't be afraid to jump into a trend like this, because otherwise you're not getting into any of them. And really, that was the name of the game today, was, are you willing to short levels like these on stocks? Like, that's why I was in Airbnb earlier, and that's why I'm in NVIDIA now. You've got to be willing to do it, because sometimes it doesn't recover. Like, liquidity it was $10 before Tesla came in and found some liquidity on the bid, guys. So you gotta watch out a little bit here. And I love in the chat you guys are talking about some things. Yeah, flatline. I like barcode for what you see here. So we're barcoding on Tesla. That's a nothing burger. But I should have gone to Gap like you did and thought shorts, because you had a line about Yeezy, about the Yeezy brand and Kanye. And I wasn't really thinking that. And if I was thinking that, I would have probably flipped to the short at some point. Obviously I didn't, but yeah.
Right on. A viewer in the chat asking us, how do I sign up to the watch list? If you do / watch list in the chat, you'll get the link to it. Go to tradertv.live/sign up, and you'll be able to put your information over here. We don't sell any of your information, so you don't have to worry about that. Type in your information over here and hit register. You'll get an email every morning right before 8:30, curated watch list for you from Brendo and the other Brendo, both the Brendos, helping you guys over there with your morning homework, so you know exactly what stocks to keep your eyes out for and where the positions are moving towards. One of those trades, as Neil mentioned, GPS being one of them, currently short in it and in a winner. Sadly, not too big of a winner to make me too happy on it. I think only a penny winner now, actually, because of where my average is. It is trying to move to the south side off that VWAP projection. Also, we looked at the yesterday's levels over here. No, sorry, not yesterday. The long-term long-term levels over here, allowing us to build into that short. We'll just have to wait and see if that will work out. We're also still holding TSM shorts. TSM is having a lot of trouble around these 82 area. If you look at the the intraday chart, it's not able to really break past this channel high of 82.11. Previously, I was short around 81.92. I gave it up to 82.11 to stop me out. Never happened, and we got big shorts played off of that level. Now we're right back to that 82 level, and we're still having that same trouble on TSM, which 2 or 3 days ago had a positive catalyst about Buffett buying their position, which actually only amounts to 1% of TSM's stake. I think that's what the number was. He only bought about 1% of TSM. So not sure how people view that. You know, maybe they're bullish about it. Maybe they're like, you know, you have more of Oxy than you have TSM, so maybe I'll buy more Oxy instead of this position over here. Overall, those semiconductors, you guys saw how NVIDIA played out today. You guys saw how AMD played out today. The semiconductor ETF itself, SOXX, down 0.25% on the day. So no matter how strong of a catalyst TSM has, I'm going to be looking for the shorts on it. And if we see a level like this at 82.11, constantly rejecting since 10:40 a.m. today. We're currently at 2:50 p.m. So that's a long time for this wall to stand true and not break. And if that wall's still standing, we're going to try and take that trade one more time.
Take down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev. When you said that, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But I'm going to throw this out there because you said he only owns 1% of TSM. Taiwan Semiconductor is like 6 times the size
of Oxy. Okay.
So like I get it. He's bought a lot of Oxy and he owns. I mean, at some point he could just buy the whole company. And he'll never do that with TSM. It's too big.
Okay.
But it is a. I mean, if he owned as much TSM, I couldn't see a way that Warren Buffett would, as big as he is. I don't think he'd ever own 15, 20% of TSM. It's a $360 billion company. I feel like that would be a pretty large bet for him to make there, but you never know. I just love the fact that you pointed that level out. We talk about this all the time. If you're having a sideways day, find yourself a good level and stick to it. That's about as clean as it gets. I would also, it's up on the day when the market's down. I would say, hey, if we break out from here, I really don't mind that. If it's able to get to the upside and break that 82.11, I'd probably look for a long there. And actually now, I'm kind of being talked into it. I'm talking myself into it. I'm checking over AMAT, who actually reported today. Rug pull central on AMAT. Got to 110 and then just flushed. And this is at that open. Everything did this at the open, but here's the real key. This stock has been denying the 200-period moving average. It's tried to close above it. Now post earnings, you're threatening closing pretty much. It's pretty much a complete rejection because you had the open at just barely above the 200 period and then you're closing below. That is screaming that it's going to trend to the short side, at least for me. So I'm coming into next week looking shorts on AMAT, and I'm going to go there because I like to short this afternoon. If we get to 105.5, that's yesterday's top. Now you're right back here, so your afternoon range on AMAT's 105.5. Yeah, we're picking on some of the names here in the chip space, but I want something other than NVIDIA to rinse and repeat on. Speaking of which, NVIDIA, that gift, looks like it wants to try to give it again. So NVIDIA trying to bounce back to the upside, that's a bad wick, but I want 153s a couple more times, many times we can get it for sure. And yeah, that's right. Like it's a small amount of its portfolio, but it's a rather large company. And just to come back over to Microsoft, I want to talk, to some big tech names. Microsoft was the other end of the coin when Apple was holding 240. Sorry, Apple was holding 150 and Microsoft was holding 240. What ended up happening is Apple held, Microsoft didn't, and now it's trending to the downside. This is 239, and this has a crazy wick too. 239 has just been a solid wall with 240 as resistance. So how do you think we want to play that this afternoon, right? We break this 239. I think there's a chance to hammer down on that level, but also look at that 240 level. We come back up to 240. I want to be shorting in front of that 240 on Microsoft. Certainly the market could be holding sideways. If it does, you'll probably make some coin if you bounce off an even dollar level like that 239.
For some reason, not sure why, don't ask me why, I even pulled up Roblox. In my head, I was just looking for stocks to pull up and just figured I'll pull up Roblox. And pulling up Roblox over here, I'm noticing that we're very close to that $30 area, which happens to be the bottom of November 11th. We're not there yet. There's still quite a little bit of a move, about $1 move left to go to the $30 to the downside, while Roblox is actually going higher at the moment. So you can forget that $30 move, I guess. That's where I would have liked to gone long on RBLX, but we're actually bouncing off of 31, moving to 31.50 at the moment. This is this teal blue line that you see on the chart. It's the 50-period EMA, exponential moving average, on the 5-minute chart, and we're exactly there at the moment on Roblox. Not sure if that 50-period EMA has any real level off of that price point for RBLX, so I could see it easily breaking that, going towards VWAP, and even pulling all the way up to $32 up to this high if this market actually manages to go up north. We're so far away from VWAP on the NASDAQ index, or NASDAQ futures. We're not that far away from VWAP on the S&P 500 futures, but like the markets has been stuck in a 10-point range for almost 3 hours, 4 hours now. So if you consider how much of a range this market's been stuck in, for this market to go up another 10 points, it might just take that extra oomph, that extra pressure. Luckily for us, we're about to run into power hour in the next 6 minutes over here. That extra oomph, that extra pressure, that used to be a viewer's name, Extra Pressure. Not sure where that, yeah, a viewer used to be named Extra Pressure. He had the best chirps ever. Brankles used to be on the show. I used to be on the show over there in the back corner. He used to chirp us up. Anyways, the extra pressure that we're looking for in this market might be able to show up at 3 o'clock for power hour. Hopefully, it doesn't end up being sour hour, but if you are short, let's make it a sour hour.
I don't look. I mean, as long as the market moves, I'm not going to care. But
fair enough.
You know, like look for something that is going, like LIV, LYV. I'm just going to call. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's now broken back below VWAP, so it's back into a bit of a downward trend. So this is going to start to make a little more sense to me for the south side. Anyone did get the news, of course. There's a bit of the DOJ looking into some practices there, and of course the hoopla around Taylor Swift's sales. And you know what would be pretty interesting is, like, she's big enough that if she decided to go her own, like she could definitely start something. I shouldn't, you know, not for me to say, but obviously she could start something. She's got a heck of a lot of power, and if she decided, hey, there's another better way to do this, and she wanted to start a venture of her own, that would be something that would create a pretty significant market. Now I want to be short in front of VWAP, so I'm just going to pop something in here. Probably 67, 70s in front of that 68 level. Try to go short. I now have my stop, and I'm not hoping TSM goes up, but given that it's relatively strong, if it breaks that channel, I've got my stop to break long if it gets you know, a couple of pennies above here. So at some point, if this does go, because it is above VWAP, because it is positive on the day, I do like the long guys. So I'm going to take it only if it breaks. I don't want to be rushing into that one. It's all about patience. I see DWAC. I get it. We get a lot of people asking about DWAC on every single day. You know, like DWAC heading towards 21. I know it's held 22 at this point. So close to getting my NVIDIA fill. Come on, just a couple more pennies. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Gimme, gimme always gets. But DWAC is not moving, and you can't trade DWAC when it's doing this. You just can't. You have to wait for a move. Either you take a break early when it's got some volatility in the morning, or you wait for the pop to fade it. So like that was it. Like that's your chance. Even in here, it's not likely to have a lot of liquidity. So I'm not going to be chasing that. I get it. It's just not one of those. So I'm going to stay away from that. I want to get my NVIDIA if I can. Load up there. I have to adjust my stop before I do that. That's why. I'm like, why am I not getting my order filled? I'm like, oh, that's right. Because I have my Edge A stop. When you have a certain stop that we use actually sits in your order log, and that's when you can see my stop order in there. So in order to get more shares, that stop I have to cancel it and then take the position and then throw it back in. Another script order that we use, I can just have that sitting out there with my order as well, but it's a little bit slower of an execution. So when I'm trading in NVIDIA, I like to have the better one in there, which means I have to cancel first, then get in, which I just did. We're going to rinse and repeat like we always do. That's the name of the game. I mean, the thing about day trading is you have to take advantage of what the market's going to give you. And about the only thing I would do differently, or you could do differently in NVIDIA, would be to get out and reverse long at 52 and then take the dollar both ways. I don't like flipping back and forth like that. I tend to want to stick to the weakness and then go only in that direction. I'll do the same thing here in Airbnb until it stops working. So I'm going to cancel this order, and then I'm going to get short again off of VWAP and then play it back down. This is 97.5 to 97, so it's been giving me about 50 pennies each time. Rinse and repeat till it stops working. Macy's, however, caught a bid before 22, so I couldn't get the reload on Macy's.
GPS shorts are not working. I had to jump out of that one. We're actually launching past VWAP on GPS, currently at $13.53. My stop had to trigger. That's a lie. I punched out manually. My stop did not trigger, and I panicked and I punched out manually myself. Now we have to just patiently watch and see. The market's going up clearly. This is the NASDAQ futures chart. I just drew a trend line on it. We kept bouncing to the downside, so I figured, hey, let's draw a trend line, see if they do match up on that trend. And then we also have this line over here. That's the bottom of this day. Couple highs over here on this day. Couple more bottoms coming in. So I want to see if we continue rejecting that 11,680 or even 11,700 area, which happens to be the 100-period EMA on the NASDAQ futures. Noticing the GPS move up scares me. Yeah, market strong, you said?
Market's going. Got stopped. Brendan has news, I think.
Market's going up. I just saw this one coming back up on volume scanner here. SATX, this crazy SPAC that has been just going nuts the past couple of days, halted multiple times yesterday. Same story for today. We're back here. We're back at this level, trying to hold right now. $40. It's very, very thinly traded stock. Just be careful if you're looking at it, but a little bit of a volume spike. Speaking of former SPAC, anyways, Rumble as well. Trying to test $10 currently here, guys.
I got TSM long, but I also got stopped out of NVIDIA. Obviously, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Like, yeah, it's going to happen. Like, we'll get stopped out of one, and then the stock we like to the long side, we'll get into that one. But Airbnb hasn't stopped out, but it's pretty close. It's like a couple of cents away. So I might only have longs if we break the top end of this range. But I was just saying to Prad there, as I get out of Airbnb, so no more shorts anymore. We'll stop a fail on the shorts. Long starting to come in. Stay away from that. Stay away from that GRND, man.
Yeah.
Like
no kidding.
Oddly enough, you can't trade it here at Day Trade the World because GRND is actually blocked.
Yeah, GRND blocked. I'm trying to load up my platform over here. Not sure what's going on. Give me a second. Maybe Neil.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just go back to TSM, but I don't know if you want to talk about that one. But anyway, so TSM here, if it's going to, I guess, channel and break out of this channel, then first out is going to be around this 83, 82.30. And then if it gets higher, look for that 50 level. Market trending back to the upside, but we haven't really broken out yet. Like, here's a quick look. Yeah, we're still, this is a NASDAQ. You're trying to break out. I think if you break, you're probably getting very close to this 11,700. That'll be where you want to have at least taken some profit out if we get there. So I'm watching the NASDAQ more so than the ES because I'm in one tech name. And then Macy's, I was just complaining about Macy's, the fact that I couldn't get a reload. So, I mean, it didn't get down to 22, and now it's bouncing higher. So I'll just be patient. This one gets to VWAP, I'm out. I really don't want to be holding on to this one too long, but I did want to track over to Apple. I don't think we're going to see 150 on Apple if the market goes up from here. So I don't want to sit out Apple forever. I can cancel my 150 orders. I don't need those anymore. Apple's starting to break out. I don't mind a 151 if the market wants to trend higher. I actually don't even mind the quarters if I can still get them. Because if we're going to rally into this close and evaporate upside, what better place to be in Apple? Like, give me a break. I say this often, a lot of times, it's like punch in and then yap a little bit. Anyways, I want quarters, so I'm going to wait for quarters here. I wanted this breaking here. Maybe I'll step up to 30s. That's about as far as makes sense. But Apple starting to go. Should have just punched into it. I can't zoom out because I still can't get rid of those wicks. And nothing I can do about that. But Apple breaking out, this is one I want to be in. Macy's long, I want to get out of it. TSM, first out will be the first 10 to 15 cents.
Yeah, I had to punch out myself off the TSM long over there. As soon as you said you're long triggered, I was like, oh, what? Okay, that means it's breaking out of the range. I got to jump out of here, jump out of Dodge, just because that trade worked for you before. And this is something that Neil has mentioned to me multiple times. If a level works for you once, works for you twice, the chance that that level works for you the third time and the fourth time are just lower and lower and lower because the size that you were playing off of, the level that you were playing off of is getting rinsed multiple times. It's getting tested. It's getting repeated again and again and again. Eventually, that level's got to give. So now it looks like that level did give, and TSM breaking that, going to the north side. Neil with a nice little long on that when the market's going up. Hopefully, we get a nice move all the way back up to the north for TSM and for Neil, but no long for me on that one. I guess I was too slow to flip my mind to the long side over there. Coming back to Grinder, though, just wanted to see how the stock is moving because I haven't looked at it for a while now. Looks like we're below VWAP. We're trading above and around $35, which also happens to be, I think, the first price where it halted off of. Like you see right here, there were no real breaks in the stock price. Maybe it halted over here at $20, but I see the first real halt around 32 based off of the chart. And looks like we're actually forming a base around that price point. We're pulling back to 35. Let's see if the stock is able to find some buyers at 35. And we've mentioned how if you're watching Grinder, it might be also worth your time to watch Match.com and Bumble.com. There's like no size on any of my books at the moment. Not sure what's going on. But, you know.
Come to me for a second, because I just got to fill in Liv here. Up to view up. So when the market comes to the upside, like, yes, some stocks you're going to want to get out of to the short side. You want to enter some longs like we did over there in TSM. But, you know, if you're looking for a short opportunity and you want a specific level, then you can maybe get that little pop. So I did get that in LYV here. I want to take this. And look, it's not going to put the moves on that it did when the news dropped. Like, it's not falling $5. It's very unlikely that's going to be the case. So inside this range is about 40 to 50 pennies. That's what I would look to take some out in front of. That's just the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to get a bid out here in the bottom end of that range. And if we can't hold 68, we're going to have to get out of Dodge. Even, I don't want to say even. I didn't mean even Tesla. Even Tesla is starting to go. Right? Like, I just try to chase Apple a little bit, and there goes Tesla starting to break out. This looks pretty spicy. You're back through 179. This seems, I don't want to say it's not sustainable, but now you're really starting to accelerate. Why do I only have two longs? I'm kicking myself. I don't want to chase Tesla, but I don't mind Apple if I can actually catch something. Still giving you a chance to get in this, maybe 150, 150. But I'm looking for that next dip to pull in. The market is now cleanly broken out, and I only added one long. I had just gotten out of GM, so that's a good place to look for a relatively strong stock. I know that's strong. I got trailed out at VWAP. It's now holding VWAP. It has yet to break out of this consolidation. So this can still set up for me on a bit of a break. I know General Motors is a stronger stock today, so I have no issues if I have to chase it a little bit. But I'm back on the bid of Apple to catch that long. If you like Tesla, that one's starting to go, but you really wanted to have that one early.
I'm just looking at the market absolutely soar like a beautiful eagle. Fly. We're just flying anyways. Going to
Fly
the
like an eagle.
Exactly. I was going to sing it, but I just didn't want to sing it for some reason.
Who is that again? It's bugging me who that song. Who sings Fly Like an Eagle?
Let's see what the chat says.
You guys tell me.
Chat for sure knows.
Fly like an eagle.
But yeah, you know, the markets are still green for the S&P. Steve Miller. Does that sound familiar? He says no, Seal.
Yeah. No, is it? You know what? No. It's both. It's both.
Okay.
It's both.
Okay.
It's both, isn't it?
Someone said Metallica in the chat.
I think it's both. Look, I think it's both. I think that's correct. I think it's both.
So S&P 500 still positive on the day. NASDAQ over here about to maybe turn positive on the day. Not sure if it will turn positive. We got to give it a little bit of time. It's still down 0.11% on the day over here. Apple, what a beautiful move on Apple. Even on TSM, you got to love that long on TSM, Neil. It is taking off at the moment. That range breaking. We're getting ready to maybe go play with a little bit of a higher range for this position, which we sold off of it to start the day with. Something that's not moving to the north side the way I wanted to is going to be FL Studio. But look at the bottom that we're creating, a higher bottom on Foot Locker. Jesus, I just keep saying FL Studio all day.
What the heck are you talking about, FL Studio?
I've said FL Studio so many times today that it's ridiculous. I can't help it. I need to.
If you guys get to 2,000 likes, I won't sing Seal. I actually have a rap for today.
Hey, let's go.
I almost joked that I would sing Fly Like an Eagle, but you really don't want to hear that.
Why not? Come on, I think you got a voice.
You know what's jokes? My wife hates this. But so when I'm doing dishes, I always like to have music on. My single favorite song to like boom out when I'm doing dishes is a certain Rick James ditty, and my daughter will be listening, and so all of a sudden I'll have my 5-year-old daughter, and she's like, Mary Jane. And I'm like, and my wife is just like, what are you doing? Do not sing that song. But she has no idea. She doesn't know what it means. Right. But she's 5, so she might go to school and be like, do you? And then like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that's how you get in trouble.
I love Rick James. Forget about Chappelle's show. People think it's a funny sketch.
Yeah.
Dude was a legend, man. Let's be real. Anyways, I don't know. I get off topic. You guys know that happens sometimes. So.
No, we love it, man. That's what trading's all about. We can't just be all work and no play. It makes Jack a dull boy. We got to learn to have fun over here. And thankfully, the markets are giving us such opportunities to entertain and educate all of you throughout the day. The Shining. What? The Shining, isn't that a scary movie? Where did that come from? But yeah, Jack makes Jack call me Mr. Nice Guy. Says someone in the chat. Chat, feel free to throw some tickers in there.
You didn't know that line's from a movie?
No, I've never seen that movie. I know it's a scary movie. Never seen it.
But you literally quoted the line from the movie.
I've never seen it. No clue. I'm not a fan of scary movies, man. I get scared. I can't go to bed at night, okay?
No, it's fine.
Unless it's with my, if it's with a girl, then I'll cuddle with her, I'll hug her, then, the scary movie's not so scary anymore. But if you tell me to watch by myself in my room, no thank you.
It's just, well, how did you even know the line if you've never seen it? Anyways, it doesn't matter. It just, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my goodness. It's The Shining, man. Like, really? Yeah, okay. I'm old, you're young, it's fine.
That's just a ploy for me to find a woman in the chat who wants to watch scary movies with me. See, I'm trying to work my brain over here. I'm playing chess with the chat.
I'm genuinely confused as to how you could have quoted the movie if you don't know that it's a movie.
All right, back to the market because I have no clue how I just quoted that without knowing it. Scary movies are just not my thing for me. They're
You're
scaring
trolling me.
I'm not trolling. You're not trolling. But you know what's trolling me is this stock right here. Come on, Foot Locker, get up there. I keep calling you Fruity Loops, but Foot Locker, you need to go to the north side. I'm watching the market move up. S&P 500 right now above VWAP, 3970 coming into play. 11,700 that Neil called out 5 minutes ago. We're actually there on the market. So are we going to go turn green on the NASDAQ today or not? That's the question that we're all having. And Brendo's saying The Shining is not a scary movie. Really? I thought it was.
Oh,
okay.
Come on, man.
I thought it was. All right,
okay,
we're moving on.
Not even close.
No. It's a classic, but I mean, if you're scared by that, then you got other problems if that scares you too much. It's an absolute classic thriller. Like it's like a psychological thriller is the best way to think of it.
Okay.
But just watch the movie, man. I promise you'll enjoy it. Here's Johnny. Here's TSM. It did get to that first leg, so 82.30. Now going higher. I want to get out. You know what? I'm not even going to put an order out there. That's kind of stupid because it's in the middle of this range that I like, 82.44 and 82.70. So I do like the middle of that range up, but I don't have to put an order out there. We can just hang around as it heads to the upside. Apple just continues to churn. I hate myself. Should have just got it. Did miss it. Got to zoom in to show you guys. Unfortunately, it's gone. There is a dip down to like these 45s and 50s. So I think that's where I'm going to have to check up to and sort of get into this party to the upside. Because if Apple wants to go, I do want to be in here on this range if I can catch it. Maybe not too perfect. Some 50s, something in the 50s might make sense, like 55s, add at 50 at 45, and see if I can't get into the long on Apple. This is a strong one. I like relative strengths. I only want to be in relative strength unless I'm long at the bottom. Like I would have taken Microsoft off the lows, but I'm not going to be able to get those. I'm not going to be able to get Macy's again off the lows. I don't think that's going to happen. Macy's is one though that I will take it out if it gets to VWAP. I'm not really holding out for more, and I'll probably start trailing this thing. If it gets past 22.30, I'm going to put a trail on this. And we're being told The Shining is classified as a horror mystery. Okay, technically, yes, I'm sure that's true. But it's not, it doesn't sit there scaring the living crap out of you. Like, it's creepy more than it is scary. That's the best way to think.
Here's the story behind me and scary movies. When I was a kid, my dad made me sit down, watch the movie Grudge. Right? And in the Grudge movie, I was a baby, dude. I was a baby. This girl like turns her head 360 and I'm freaking out. I'm running around the house, literally losing my brain cells. Like, wow, what's going on? And I couldn't sleep for like a week after that. So ever since then, you know, PTSD kicks in when it's with horror movies. But you know what PTSD is not going to kick in? Hopefully it doesn't kick in. It's with these brand new positions I have on board. Maybe Neil can give me his 2 cents about this Amazon short that I'm just now putting in. You know, obviously this markets went up. Amazon, Neil was talking about relative strength in Apple. Amazon, relative weakness today, right? We saw Amazon really fail. When I was long on Amazon, I did have a nice winner on it, but that's when the markets were at VWAP and Amazon was at lower day. So I told you guys, be careful if you're long Amazon with me, because if the market starts to pull back down and Amazon is at the lower day, Amazon only has one direction to go from there, which is straight to the downside. It did end up playing out that way. Amazon lower day 92.50 and now pulling back to that same 94 area where I was going long. I'm going to now see if I can flip short at that area. And if this market really sells off the 11,700 mark that Neil was talking about, then Amazon short should work out for us. Another stock that has relative weakness in it compared to Apple that has relative strength, it will be Microsoft. Microsoft still down on the day, down 0.67%, but right now we're right back to $240 on Microsoft. A good even dollar number for us to play off of. Let's see if this one sells off. If it doesn't, that means the market's still going up north and we just have to take the L on it and move on. But good risk to reward plays coming up for both of these stocks over here on AMZN and MSFT. People in the chat talking about NFLX. More big tech stocks coming in. Let's go see what NFLX is doing on the day here. Netflix has been pretty strong ever since the earnings report. And also we do know that in November 2nd, I think it was November 2nd, when their ad-supported tier went live to 10 different countries. I'm still waiting to see how those numbers will play out. I guess we'll have to keep on waiting until next year when the Q4 earnings reports are being reported. But today, Netflix sadly getting below 300 in pre-market itself, not managing to go above 300 in pre-market and selling off ever since. Just the constant lower lows and lower highs coming into play for NFLX. So one thing that you could do is just draw yourself a little trend line. I talk enough smack about trend lines, so you guys already know it. There's no rule in line that says, you know, trend lines have to be followed 100% of the time. So you could draw yourself a trend line over here and you could have shorted every single pop and stop shorting as this trend line breaks over here. Going to Brendo.
Just a heads up, not really moving right now, but GRND, the CEO making the rounds today. If you missed it early on, GRND de-spacking, if that's a verb, today. So day one for this ticker symbol, but downside right now. The CEO on Fox Business right now. So he was on CNBC earlier. Fox Business gets the CEO now, guys.
Look, I see in the chat what you guys are doing. Steve G, Pratt is scared of Teletubbies. So in Pratt's defense, because I'm not going to defend him on the Shining thing, but in his defense, by the way, I think I chased Apple too far, and I stopped it out tight, probably because that's the case. When it couldn't hold 150, 140, I just got out. I'll risk the 15 cents there. I got some out of Liv. I'm going to get some out of 67 as well. So that's going to the downside. I guess we'll do one of these for, I don't know. I was about to hit O Canada, but we'll do the power up because I like that one. But the Grudge is actually pretty scary. I'll give him that. And he was way too young to have probably seen it. I would never show my daughter The Grudge.
I was probably your daughter's age.
She's 5.
I was probably your daughter's age.
That would scar her. Like that kind of a movie, like that's made to scare the living crap out of people. Although when you're a little bit older, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Event Horizon, if you guys want. If you like science fiction and you like horror.
I always hear like Omen and The Ring are like the best or whatever. My dad talks about those.
No, the original Omen, that's actually pretty scary.
Okay.
The Exorcist is a classic. But anyways, we can talk enough about movies. But yeah, definitely. I've heard of this. People talk about movies. Obviously now Jaws, The Nun. I haven't seen The Nun. I've heard some pretty good things about it. But yeah, if you've never seen Event Horizon, that's like Lawrence Fishburne. Sam Neill, I think, the guy from Jurassic Park is in there as well, if you know that movie. So I said Macy's, I should be getting it out at VWAP. Ye old wick top, ye old reversal. I don't know why I'm saying ye old. I'm just going to get out. I was going to put a trail in. Now I'll just manually take this one out. it's rejecting VWAP. 22 definitely held. And the key with this was patience. This is, if you gotta pick a bottom, at least pick one that makes some sense. Now, I probably got a little too much out there. Should have held for this level for the next exit point. But you gotta be patient with it. This should have been a play better into VWAP. But I just, it is what it is. Like, it is a downward trend. And when I look back at Gap, so is Gap. And much like everything else, if you were just finding your way into the short trend, that's what you should have been doing. But if you can't do that, at least get yourself a good long at a good price. I feel like it's going to be a trend in LYV. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but yeah, coming into next week, I think I know what direction I'm looking on this stock. We always say when in doubt, zoom out. And I didn't show you guys a daily chart. I don't know why I didn't show you guys a daily chart here. I know what direction I'm looking if this thing closes beneath $67. It's at $67.30. This is the low from the other day, $67.60. If we close down here or lower, you're looking shorts next week. Like, you're headed into the abyss. That's another good movie, by the way.
I love that movie.
Abyss is another great one. So you have to go all the way back to the end of 2020 when it keeps on filling out there. You have to go all the way back to the end of 2020 when it had this level at about 66. So there are monster levels to the downside coming on LYV. Not to say it's going to happen this afternoon. There's only 40 minutes left. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if we do break down, close below 67, I'm looking 65 shorts. Maybe it gets to 60. There's all kinds of you-know-what that can break loose for that. So always zoom out to get a better time frame to give you an idea of a bias that you can look for next week. Maybe it recovers and we're holding above 67, 60, and I don't think that. But it's trying to bid off 67 here, and I'm waiting at... Why am I waiting at 06? That's a bad. I'll wait in front of like 10s and 15s, see if I can get another leg out, and then maybe this can start to trend down even better than it already is. So I think the direction is sell side till proven otherwise. Alien versus Predator gave you nightmares, Steve G.
What? Come on.
Really?
Come on.
Insidious. Yeah, there you go. ASL. That's a good one, man. That's a good. I like that one. Nightmare on Elm Street.
I've seen Insidious.
I actually, when I was give an idea how old I am. When I was a kid, I was at a birthday party, and they showed Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was all jazzed about it because I was like maybe 8 or 9 years old, I think I was, whatever it was. I was too young. My parents wouldn't let me watch it. And then I got to watch it at the birthday party. Man, I couldn't sleep for like and I was afraid of clowns forever because of it. That movie, like Pennywise, and then I watched it when I was older. Sheesh.
Thank goodness I didn't watch it. Oh,
Tim
there was
Curry,
the old It?
The old It, not the new one, man.
Okay,
the old one. Because
obviously. Yeah.
Obviously the older one.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was an older one until now, so maybe I need to watch the older one first and then the new one or something. But like I was saying,
It won't scare you.
You sure? Okay. If you say that, I'll trust you on that. Guys, NASDAQ did touch 11,700 and pulled back to the south side slightly. The 100-period EMA rejection on the NASDAQ futures coming into play. So hopefully that does pay us on the Amazon shorts. We're currently 5 cents in the money on Amazon, but Microsoft still going up north. Apparently 16 cents out of the money on Microsoft at the moment. A little bit more than that, actually. We keep on going to the north side on MSFT. Let's see if MSFT can pull back down. Actually, wait, my bids are crossed again, and for some reason my book doesn't show, which is very weird for me. Should I just relog for this book to show, maybe?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter what stock I go to, the book's dead.
Yeah, like there's so basically, like from a technical standpoint, I'll tell you what's happening. Is there's some gateway that's stuck on your feed. Like maybe it's ARCA, maybe it's EdgeX or something.
Right.
Which is a stuck bid on all your old prices, and until it gets cleared up, like it's not going to work. So I mean, your tape's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you're at Day Trade the World, the explanation I'm giving you is going to make some sense. So
right.
Before I did this, I was risk managing and trading, and therefore, when things go wrong with the system, when you deal with it from time to time, like I'm accustomed to talking to back office and talking to IT as well. So I know some of the things, and I'm not sure there's much you can do about that problem, to be honest with you. You probably have to figure out what book it is. But I want to get back to one thing, because anything that's starting to not work, like the longs, I got to check back on TSM, because it's actually holding up above that breakout price. So this is a good sign for TSM. If the market the ES is holding green, just barely, but the NASDAQ, if the NASDAQ makes another charge here, so it rejected, I love these lines that like Arun will give levels, and I'll just kind of like leave that crap up on my chart, for like a really long time, and then every now and then I'll go back and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm in a position, you're in some longs or something. It's like, oh, I've got this line drawn. Maybe you should take some profit. It's like, I drew this line because Arun said it a week ago, and the next thing you know, we get to that level like days later in the afternoon, and it just turns away from it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Like the afternoon range is basically a couple of old lines that Arun gave, and he probably gave them like a week or two ago. That's why I love having him around. And every now and then, don't get me wrong, I'll actually ask Arun, hey man, what are you looking at? Do you have any levels in the afternoon here today? Like, what are you watching for like the ES or the NASDAQ? And he'll just pop them in the chat. So if you're ever curious, like if you're just curious, hey man, is there anything significant that Arun's looking at? He's our futures trader, by the way. He comes on in the mornings and gives us some levels. If you're ever curious, I just message the guy. It's not that hard. But he is probably in his dungeon trading away like he normally is. I think it's his basement. It's not really a dungeon, but I like to call it the dungeon. And he's wearing that same shirt every single day.
Saj?
No, Arun.
Oh, Arun. I thought you were talking with Saj for a second. I was like,
Saj.
I was like, okay. We're gonna come back to
we never talked about Saj on the show.
Yeah, we didn't.
He was one of my mentors, actually. You guys, well, one day we'll have a conversation.
One day we'll have to mention or bring out that story about the legend over there. NASDAQ still pushing down south, ladies and gentlemen. I'm quickly glancing over at Neil's screen to see how the TSM stock's doing. It is actually holding up pretty well, so I'm glad I jumped out of that shore. I would have probably kept fighting that a little bit if it wasn't for Neil's idea and thought process that helped me stay away from constantly battling that shore. FL's Foot Locker, I had to battle to not say Fruity Loops so hard for that. Foot Locker did not actually go up higher than 36 when the market moved up north. So I don't really like that. I'm going to jump out of that trade completely, move on from it. And Microsoft at the moment coming back down for us. So let's see if Microsoft can, it is printing 288.57, 56. And what? Oh, that's...
What's up?
How does this even make sense? Why am I seeing 288s and I'm short 239?
I don't know what's going on with your feed. I would say log out and back in again.
Yeah, let me log out and log
When in
back
doubt,
in.
now I'm not an IT specialist, but when Sean and I had our own trading floor, for a brief period of time, I was officially our head of IT. So it was myself, Sean, and another partner. And we'd call head office when we had a problem. But Microsoft is holding this 240 line, and it's got this wick. I can't, every time I clean it up, it just goes right back. But it's holding back and forth this 240. So when I see this, it's trying to make a decision off this level. So I almost like don't touch it till it breaks down, breaks up. That kind of thing is where I'm going to be at. I'm more worried about TSM, can it hold up? And then if Liv, where do I want to get out of Liv if it runs to the downside here? And now that it's breaking this channel here at 66.72, it's about $1 in the money. I'm thinking 66, but I'm willing, if this starts to get out of hand and the market pulls back in, to back off 66 and go for the low of the day. Now, the reason I'm not automatically thinking low of the day is how significant that bottom was at 65. And look at the juice this had. You guys can't see volume, so I'm going to do this for you guys so you can see. Just to give a bit of an explanation for this. Like, look at the juice it had the second time. When it ran off of 65 here on that double bottom, look at that volume candle. It was already tapering off, had a huge candle to the upside, got all the way back into these levels that we're shorting. So I'm anticipating there's some buyers down here, definitely short covers, and there's going to be some buyers down at that 65. So I want to be out of it in front, and then if there's a bounce, I can maybe fade off of that. And I think there's people that are thinking the same way, and we'll get out in front of 65, and it could end up putting a push back into VWAP before it gets to that price. So anyways, that's my thought process. There was a lot of buying down there. You guys don't always see the volume indicator because it's blocked by the position board.
Go.
Obviously, we want to have the position board. It's important. But yeah, the only things I have on my 3-minute are VWAP and volume. Always have volume on my charts. Longer term charts, I'll have like the 50 and the 200 period on a daily chart because I think those are important indicators. I'm not always about the death crosses and all that stuff, but every now and then it gives you a good idea. I always want to have the major moving averages up on my daily chart because I think they can be pretty useful.
All right, so it looks like that relogging. Did you try restarting your computer? It did work for us. So we got 240 over here on MSFT. Sadly, 50 cents out of the money. I'm okay with giving Microsoft about 50 to 75 cents on the entry over here near 250. Giving it that wiggle room as we always talk about. Just got to be patient. But look at the buying coming in. Let me filter the tape for Microsoft for 199 shares or more. And quickly heading back to the NASDAQ futures chart too. NASDAQ NQ/Z22. Oh, sorry, that's too many twos over there. NQ/Z22CM. NASDAQ still around 11,700, and we actually have a green candle coming in on the 5-minute chart for the NASDAQ futures. So we're watching the buyers come in all across the board. I hear Neil say, "Let's go." I'm guessing that's for the TSM long. Let's leave that stock for him. And in the meantime, go check out what Amazon's doing. We saw that Microsoft's out of the money. Amazon was in the money for us, but now even Amazon is marching towards VWAP, towards that $94 area as this market is going up to the north side. I want to quickly remind you guys that with only 30 minutes left on the show, not much time left for you guys to get this like count to 2K. We're currently only at 779. Did you hear what he just said? He said, you don't want it. Do you want the wrap or not? If you want the wrap, you know the goal. The number is 2,000 likes for this show over here. We're at 4,359. If even half of you hit that like button right there, I think we get to listen to what Neil's got in store for us.
And maybe Ian will get a perm. Brendan?
Ian will get a perm, did you say?
Midday, they were talking about him getting a perm.
Wow. All right. Energy stock just popping up here. ROCC, which is Ranger Oil and Gas. Looks like this right now. Reports, anyways, that they're exploring a potential sale of the company. So a big pop here for ROCC.
Yeah.
Now you're doing it.
We're just talking to Ian. Apparently he didn't actually agree to that. So it's too late now. I mean, it's out there. So I think we'll just say like 5,000 Ian gets a perm. I don't know. We'll just make it up. Yeah, I would never make somebody do that. If I want to do something to myself, that's perfectly fine. I'm kind of fun. It's fun and games. That's all it's all about. That ROCC, it's already starting to pull back in. Anytime you see, I call it flash news, but whatever you like, whatever adjective you like to throw to it, you always want to look at that. We talked about GM for this yesterday. You always want to look at that first pullback. So when it dumps, that first dip gave you 43.75, right? And I'm seeing like it's now holding 44. So if it starts going sideways, where I see like icebergs off 44, I start thinking about, okay, you want a long 5s, 10s, give it that 25 cents. Now it's starting to go, so it's giving you an idea that it wants to hold that range. But the idea is to risk like 25 to 30 cents on the trade. Here's the problem with this, is the volume I'm noticing, right? So ROCC, why is this on TSM still? It's done 500,000 shares in volume. It's pretty light vol and all dark pool printing. So there's not a lot going off lit, which makes, and look at the spread. The spread's actually a little bit spready, like 15 to 20 cents, 25 pennies if you want 100 round lots. So yeah, you might not be able to put that same idea on. Like when we saw the same thing in General Motors, the difference was, come on TSM, it won't bounce. But the thing with General Motors, and of course General Motors, I trail out of that one and that one goes, is when it did that same move yesterday, well, GM's got a 1 cent spread. So when it's doing all this nonsense, like you can, look, if you want to take a long at 71 and get out at 60, you're gonna lose 11 or 12 cents like you expect to, and not potentially 2 or 3 times that. And that's the difference trading this on flash news and trading ROCC. It's a little bit more difficult. Like, of course, now GM's consolidating higher. I'm going to go 39.65 up here on GM off that consolidation. This is definitely trending higher. I put the trail on. Maybe it was a bad call. The market looks like it does want to grind higher there. I'm saying go TSM, because it's starting to stall out a little bit. And it's like there's always the one you don't have, right? Not TMS, TSM, Neil. TMS is actually the name. TMS is the name of our simulation mode here at Day Trade the World. I think what is it? I think it's called Training Mode Supreme.
Training Module Simulator.
I thought it was like Trading Mode Supreme or something.
Oh, okay.
TMS is what it's called.
I'm looking at the Financial Juice's website at the moment. You know, are we partnered with them?
Nah, we have no affiliation.
Well, it says we are over here, partners, tradertv.live right there on their website directly. So if you click on there, they see all of our, they post all of our tweets on their website. But yeah, I was just checking to see what the mock imbalance could be. It says 715 million sell on their website on Financial Juice, and Brendo also put that on in our work chat just now. I do see that. People in the chat are also saying PayPal breaking out to the long side. PayPal apparently breaking out of 85 and going towards VWAP at the moment. And Man, PayPal's been a tough position for my long-term account. Thankfully, I didn't load the boat on this position. Gap is breaking out. GPS apparently going north side over here. Let's go see what GPS looks like real quick. Oh yeah, thank goodness we had the stop out there. That looked good for a second, but eventually looked bad. And now GPS getting ready to go up with the rest of the market. Here's a quick look at the NASDAQ market as we're crossing 11,700 to the north side and trading at VWAP. And here's the S&P 500. I'm guessing above VWAP. It is above VWAP at 39.70.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at, I see PayPal kind of going, but it looks like Gap looks a little more interesting. Like I said, it's not about chasing, but I want to get GM because that looks relatively strong. I know people are saying DWAC. That's not that much movement in DWAC. And still, like, it's like watching paint dry when I look at the time and sales and the tape. I mean, Tesla, I see 180 on Tesla, but it's doing the Microsoft thing at 240, where this is your key level. It's just 50 cents above and below, and it's got to break away from that. Like, it's pretty useless. So I'll stick with what we have at this point and then go for some GM. That LYV. Here's the other thing LYV is doing. I'll just pull my black chart over because I don't want to flip away. Like, I have a look at what it's doing. Like, I always have more indicators on one chart that I'm kind of testing out. So, like, I'll throw, like, things like MACD just for an idea, and I'll have them up there as I'm trying to, like, learn more, just do things new. But on my main charts, I don't have these. But I do have the 50, which this is riding on LYV. And I'm asking myself, why would I want to get out of this unless it breaks this? So if I see it, it's more like if I observe it happening, then I'll react to it. Like, I don't want to use it because that's not my style of trading, but if I observe that trend and I'm looking for a trail anyways, then what it allows me to do is say, okay, LYV, I'll pop that one up, I'll cancel this bid, I'll give you a chance to fall all the way to the low of the day, and then I'll just simply manually get out if I see if it break that trend. Now, right now, that would be breaking 67, so that's pretty easy to do. I can just pop my stop over here at 57, so cancel that break-even stop. Throw in a 67 stop, cross like 30 cents, because whatever, it's a random number. I don't like using market orders. I've said that time and time again, so I don't use market orders. I tend to just put like aggressive limit orders in there, so I'll pop a trailing stop in there. And then if it breaks 67, then I'm going to get out automatically. I can adjust that as I see it slide to the downside. Here comes General Motors pulling back in here. Hopefully we don't get run over on this, but if I do get filled 39.65, which I think I'm probably going to catch this bid, I don't want to hold it all the way back to the support at 39.40, right? Like, I want to give it a tight stop into 60. If it breaks that, then I'd probably like the long again at 39.45. On a $40 stock, 20 pennies matters. A $150 stock, that's a different story. So you always have to treat it differently depending on the instrument you're looking at.
All right. Yeah, Paul in the chat saying early mock imbalance, 715 million sell side. Yeah, that's very close to $1 billion. Yeah. You thought it was long?
I didn't realize it was that big a sell.
Yeah, 715 mil sell off the financial juice. Very close to being $1 billion sell. All after having a good CPI number and I believe a good PPI number overall. So markets over here still scared. If you guys are signed up to our watch list, in that watch list, the first paragraph tells you, the Feds are thinking about continuing to have rate hikes at the same pace and at the same level and so on with 50 or 75. So still lots of fears of increasing rate hikes. I believe it was yesterday or the day before that, the UK financial minister, changed a couple rules over there and also said the R word out loud. The R word, right? So we got to be careful
Just say it.
Just say it. So, you got to be careful with what the market's going through and where we might be heading towards.
Recession. Whatever.
Yeah.
The Fed can't say, so he can't say it because it's a very politicized thing, right?
Oh, so if, I get it. If Powell's used the R word, then the markets kind of just puke, right?
Well, and then also whatever the administration be like, don't talk about recession because that's bad for the incumbent. There's a reason they don't like to say it.
Right. Okay. I didn't look at it like that. That's actually a very valid point.
Yeah,
so when the UK financial minister says it, then how does it weigh on the world? Does it have any weight or not as much?
See, when you get to the point of where they were in the UK, you might as well say it because you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
Things were in a different level in the UK. I got to fill in GM there, by the way. They had Brexit. Then you have the war going on in Europe. You have some of the energy concerns. There's just so much happening. They're already in turmoil. You have all kinds of disputes when it comes to tariffs and imports and exports. They were under shock, and then COVID happened, right? And then the war happened, and then the commodity thing happened, and it was way too much. They never stood a chance, right? Like you can, and this is not to talk politics or anything, but anyone that's out there like crapping on like the UK government, it's like, what do you think? Like, nobody had a chance there. They had no chance.
Yeah.
They had no chance. Sometimes things are set up and you can't win, and there's nothing you can do about it. So just got some Gap, GM, General Motors. Why did I say Gap? Oh, I have Gap up over here, that's why. So I just got some GM 65s. 66 in front of 65. I'll throw a stop at 39.60. Let's see if we can get back to the top side here. I guess I hope the market goes to the upside because LYV probably shouldn't care if the market goes up. So I guess I'm betting that the market's going to continue this run into the upside here. But tight stops all the way. Someone asked in the chat, it was Trader Gorno, wouldn't you save money by using market orders? So no, what I mean by, and I'll go back over to LYV. So when I set this stop order, 67 breaks, so my stop is just above here, right? Like this is actually where the trigger is going to be. My limit order, if triggered, is going to cross the market to 67.31, right? So essentially what that means is I'll put an aggressive limit order willing to pay 67.30. That's going to act like a market order, but if the stock has a flash up to like 73 in one candle, then I won't get the fill. And that's not to say that, okay, well, crap, you might miss that stop. Nah, not really. Like you always cross an amount that it's pretty much impossible that you miss. I just generally don't like having market orders. So I always have like very aggressive limit orders. So that's why if you see me put a stop that shows up here, it's never at the stop level. It's how far I'm actually crossing against it if the order is to execute. So this is just the way I use them. Market orders are not necessarily a bad thing, and they're probably perfectly fine on most symbols. I just don't like using them. I trade like some market making and back in the day penny stocks where you're putting more aggressive like bid, and you don't want to get liquidated or use market orders on some of those stocks. They'll break a level, and it's not good. So I've gotten out of the habit of using them because I've had some pretty bad outcomes in my trading career. One in particular, like I once got marketed out of a stock in the pre-market. And it actually led to a rule change at Day Trade the World, by the way. So anyways, I don't like market orders. I try to use aggressive limit orders. I find it controls things a little bit better. But they still act the same way in 99.99% of the time. So I just prefer to use them.
I remember you telling me this one day, which is, there's got to be a price that I'm not willing to pay. So market orders, you're not doing that. When you're throwing a market order, you are basically saying, here's my money, just give me whatever the heck price you want to give me, market maker, and I'll take it. And with day traders whose prices and their fills are very important to us, right? We can't just leave it in their hands like that. That's basically what happens sometimes when you're trading pink sheets.
That's exactly true. So I'll just tell kind of the story of what happened to me in the pre-market one time. So I got a fill that was probably too large in the pre-market, and I get marketed out, and so like I basically lose my month on a single fill. Now, there was no liquidity, admittedly, and it's like, yeah, you want to be able to get out. But there was pretty much no circumstance under which marketing out in the pre-market was going to be a better outcome than simply working out of the position. Like there's no chance. Like it was so bad anyways that you didn't want to market into oblivion in that situation. It was way better if I had just worked the position instead of getting marketed out. And since that time, it's just a general rule for myself. I'm not using market orders. I'd rather, if I can't get filled here, then I'm probably better off working out of the position instead of just taking whatever they give you. Because then you're causing the panic. And it's like, I've been there, man. And it's like, you want to learn from mistakes like that. Anyways, back to the market. TSM is now in that point where it's like put up or shut up. It's at 82.50, so the break gave you first leg halfway to the 30s. Now it's to the 82.50 level. Start breaking higher, I'll probably slap a trail back into like 82.35 or so. So that's starting to go. General Motors, I want to say, okay, so it bounced off my level, but it didn't go anywhere. So it's like 5 or 6 cents in the money, and it's not moving. And back to LYV as well. So I'm kind of sticking to these three. This is now trending to the downside. I'm going to move my stop probably in a few minutes or so, but it's going sideways. I want to hold on to this at least till 3:50. We got about 15 minutes to go till the end of the day, but the imbalances come in 6 or 7 minutes. This had news in the middle of the day. Always a chance that an imbalance pops out on LYV. So I want to keep tightening my stop, but I'm not moving it just yet.
Market's still moving up north, so Amazon and Amazon and Microsoft, they're both 50 cents out of the money. Going to walk away from that trade at the moment as 11,700, sorry, not 17K. 11,700 on the NASDAQ did manage to break, and we are now 21 points above that on the NASDAQ futures to the north side. So market going up north. Looks like FL, I punched out pretty much at the bottom of that range. Could have taken out, exited the top of that range and made an extra 30, 40 cents or so. Not too worried about that. But anyone holding those longs on FL, congratulations, as you are still killing it on that position. And I'm actually regretting not having an order to flip long on my TSM short, because that was a beautiful long on TSM. Monster long for Neil, killing it with those longs, my friend. People in the chat saying check out Beam, Beam Global, most likely on NASDAQ with the 4-letter ticker. It is on NASDAQ, but it's trading in a 20-cent range for a $17 stock. Also looks very illiquid. There is no real volume being taken place on Beam, and Neil's actually checking to see if it's a buyout stock at the moment. We don't see anything about it. I think it's just illiquid at the moment by looking at the chart itself. Most likely does not have too much volume coming in.
You know what's helpful?
Yeah.
I know some people, you put like random, it's like, look at this random symbol. If you're going to call something up that's not really moving, don't hesitate to like why you want us to look at it. Like, you just add it in there, because, you know, we don't mind. Like, that's what we're here for. And I'll look at something that I haven't traded or looked at that day. But if there's not a reason for it behind it, like we don't know every single stock in the market. Like, you'll ask about something, it's like I can pull up the chart, pull up some fundamentals, but I don't know the reason why you want us to take a look at it. And if it's not moving, it's not really fair in that situation to us. And it's not to say you can't analyze stock. I know you can. It's just more, there's probably a reason why you wanted us to watch it, that's all.
So moving to Coinbase over here, I was previously talking about Coinbase maybe triggering SSR today. I don't think it actually triggered SSR at any point, and still down on the day though, sadly. Currently holding 45 as a bottom, and if you look at this level right here, 44.45, previous low on November 9th for Coinbase. We're still trading around those lows for this bad boy, even though Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, what previously seen on the day, were not actually that deep into the red, nor were they deep into the green side. They were just hanging out flat. But Coinbase today extending off that weakness from I believe the overall FTC debacle that took place. You know, craziness. The whole FTC thing's getting worse and worse by the day. It's so wild. So people are now saying Binance is next, Crypto.com is next, Coinbase is next.
I think it was Rubini was basically coming out and saying, it was like, his words, not mine. I think he said something like a house of cards for Binance. Look, if Binance crumbles, there's a lot of pain to be had if that happens. So, I mean, if Binance pulls an FTX, well, if you wanted to buy Bitcoin sub 10,000, that's going to be your chance.
That's a quadriga waiting to happen all over again. For those of you who don't know, Quadriga was a Canadian firm, I believe, that was a Ponzi scheme, basically.
It might be an order of magnitude worse than that. It's closer to Enron than it is to Bre-X. Let's put it that way.
Oh my goodness! Wasn't the Enron guy who's actually looking at the papers right now for this FTX, and he said this is worse than Enron?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, if anyone is following the FTX thing, so when they have a bankruptcy, like you'll appoint somebody. It's like, this is the person running the show for this bankruptcy, and they appointed the Enron guy to FTX, and if you read the report, it's like, oh my goodness. He's like, it's way worse. Yeah. The accounting was a joke. You're basically, the way in which they're managing expenses is ridiculous. And then Brendan actually made a point to me, and when FTX was, or SBF was shopping the deal, and someone asked me to look at Disney, that's why it's up. When he was shopping the deal to try and get somebody to bail out, that the financials that he was sending out, the Excel spreadsheet, I can't confirm this because I haven't looked at it, but Brendan has, they looked like they were made by a high school. And so I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, like no wonder people are walking away and didn't want to step into it. So I'm seeing Disney break up, but a lot of things are breaking back into the upside, and it's not like it's had a fantastic day. Disney, to me, the trend is pretty clean here, but the only positive for Disney is you had that volume wick bottom, and it's held the previous low, so wick below 90, and you've held 90. So there's your saving grace. There's your silver lining for the ugly trend that you see in Disney. Is that as long as it holds 90, it has at least an equal chance that it can bounce off this level for support. But the trend is down. 90 breaks, you're probably in a world of trouble. And you see with Netflix coming back in after its strength, that doesn't help either. So 90 is the level you want to watch. Come on, TSM. See, what I love about this is I would never have even looked at TSM if Prad didn't short this level. But it's true.
Fair
right?
enough.
Like if you find a good level, it's a good level. And it's probably a good level in both ways.
On the wrong other side,
right?
too,
So when the market breaks back up, instead of going long something at the bottom, which is fine too, if you find something already stronger that breaks out, then you get more carry through. So I'm going to keep adjusting my stop here. And someone asked what percentage for trailing stops. I'm not that great at trailing stops. Ask anybody that watches the show. I'm always out too early. But I tend to use support and resistance for a trailing stop. Like I'm not like trailing stop is at 82.40. Like I'll throw the trail here when it breaks out at 50. And now as it goes higher, I'll probably just leave it at 82.40 because imbalances are coming out in 1 minute. So I'll leave it at 82.40. I'll get out in front of the high of the day. So if I do see 80s, that's the perfect place to get out of the trade. Let it work for you. Once it's broken this range, all you got to do is let it ride and throw a trailing stop in, right? Like that's the way I kind of look at it. It's showing you it's strong. GM is showing me that it's not. So, I mean, give me a break. I'll get out. I'm going to get some more out. I'm going to get more out in this range here because it's not moving. So it's not going as far. We got a good dip, but it's not moving for me. So I want to get the imbalances locked and loaded for you guys. So as I do that, I know you're looking at Disney as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to look at some long-term levels for Disney. So what stands out for me right now, every single candle you're looking at is 1 year. So on the 1 year chart, I know it's a little too much zoom out, Prad. Are you that much in doubt? Maybe. But the $90 area that you were talking about is actually the low of 2015 year.
Yeah,
the low of 2015 years. So
that's a big ass level.
That's a big level right there. So I like that 90 level a lot. Going into Monday, going into tomorrow, imbalance are out.
So Apple is $2 million to buy on Apple. Ignore Petrobras. That's just Brazilian ADR. Cisco 1.3 million to buy. Merck 1.1 to sell. AT&T's $1 million to buy. Microsoft $1 million to buy. Context Logic, who cares? Intel, 1 million to buy. So like the big cap is about $1 million to buy. Well, I mean, the bigger names are $1 million. Amazon's 870,000. I'm saying it's big. It's $4 billion.
Wow.
4B. That's billion with a B to said buy side. It's not that I think Liv is going to necessarily move off that. But it's as good a time as any to get out of Dodge on that stock. So I'm just going to take out Liv as we're $4 million to buy, and I just took out more of GM. And you'll notice what isn't there anymore. Remember I said I'm going to get out of Texas Instruments at the high of the day? Well, if you get all tech buy imbalances, you get this pushing to the high of the day. So we'll ring the register on that one. Congratulations if you notice this level. It's not always about what you see. It's about what you're able to learn from other people, right? Yesterday and today short Airbnb because you guys said it yesterday. Today, long 82.10 break on TSM because Prad pointed out the level, right?
I wish I took that
If you only rely on the stuff that you see as a trader, yeah, good luck with that. I'm being dead honest, man. Like, good luck with that.
That's a very good point. You've got to be able to learn.
I'm not saying it can't work, but
got to be willing to learn. The willingness to learn should be always at the maximum, and I like that. I like that. You know, even what's that? Old dogs can be taught new tricks. I'm not calling you old, nor am I calling you a dog. I'm just saying, you know,
in fairness,
learning new things and applying it right off the bat. That's amazing.
No. See, but that's an actual habit that I built. So, anyways, like when I started out as a trainee, it was a 20 trainee group, and there was 3 or 4 guys in that group that we kind of gravitate. We sat in the same row and we talk all the time. And the trader that I sat next to, who was kind of like my trading partner, he was the guy we opened the office with Sean, the 3 of us. I sat next to him, I traded with him for a couple of years, and even when we opened our office, we sat next to each other for years trading. And he was the polar opposite of me from a risk standpoint. Like the way I would analyze things and where am I out, where am I wrong first, like that, he's the complete opposite. It's like he'll shoot first and think later. He's always taking the
Sounds
bigger
like
winners.
me.
He's always seeing the angle. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, he was that type of, and so what was perfect about it is we'd always bounce ideas off each other. Like, he'd be like, whoa, this is a great idea. I'd be like, this is where the risk is a problem.
Right.
And it'd be then vice versa. And he's like, well, why you should be doing this? If you like this level, you should be more aggressive. And that's how we're able to sort of flow.
Awesome.
And it's kind of, and interestingly enough, like, at first, Sean was kind of in the middle, and I find Sean kind of works the same way too. Like, so for me, it's like the conservative risk side, and he'll be like, yo, this is where I see the entry, bang, bang, bang. And that's what you want, ideally. Because if you just sit next to or have somebody that's a yes person for you, how are you supposed to grow?
Yeah.
All they're doing is agreeing with everything that you say, seeing everything the exact same way that you do, and then, okay, well, now what? Like, where's your opportunity to learn something new? So I always seek out people that want to play devil's advocate, man. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's a good point over there. Find something that disagrees with you, and then find out why they disagree, so you can learn from it.
That's
I
why
like
I
it.
love Yushi.
I like it. Oh, Yushi's
old
a
trader
legend.
from our floor, because
Yushi's a legend.
the reality is when Yushi and I would talk markets, like sometimes
He would argue just to
he
argue.
would just take the other side
Yeah.
for the sake of, like, the market's doing this today.
Yeah.
Chips are doing this today. He'll just take the other side so you can have a discussion.
Shout
And
out to
that's-
that legend.
And shout out, he's a legend. He's a great trader, and I love the kid to death. And he was one of the first traders on Sean and I's floor. So he was like the first successful trader that we ever had. And I'm proud to say I think he's a better trader than I am. And
That's
that's
awesome.
and that's easily one of the most fulfilling things that you can have, is to see somebody that you like. He was like 21 years old.
student taking
20
the
years old when
Mazda.
he came to us, and it's like he's an incredible trader. Love the guy. But there was a good question that just came in the chat, and where do you get the imbalance feed?
market.
It's embedded. Whoa, why did I have a TSM stop, and why am I not just getting out of it
Mark
right
is
now?
going down right now. I want to mention how.
So by the way, just
Yeah,
so
go for it.
I left a stop order, which is ridiculous, because remember I just got out of TSM? I'll answer that question in a second. I left my trailing stop in there. This is what just happened when we reversed. So I accidentally got into a short. I just immediately punched out of that sucker. And I'm going to get out of GM because the market just did a big reversal. 5 minutes to go. I'm just getting out. Forget about stops. Cancel all of them. Get flat. Be happy about the day. And now I can calm down and answer the question. In every single data feed to the market, it's called like the SIP, the primary feed, you get the imbalance information. It's automatically in our platform at Day Trade the World, P-Pro 8, and it comes as this little widget here, right? Or window, whatever you want to call it. But also, you probably have to pay for it on a retail platform, but anybody that gives you direct market access, they're getting it. It's just a matter of whether or not they're enabling you to have it or whether you have to pay for it. So it's there. It's out there. It's publicly disseminated at 350. And yes, it is triple witching today. That means options expiration. That's why you're seeing some whipsaw action and bigger imbalances whipping all around. And at 55, I've got to assume that's paired off that 4 billion. It has to have paired off, because look at what happened back into the market. That is absolutely insane. All of those buys, they're gonzo. Like Apple gone, nothing over $1 million. I mean, QS, that's about the only thing there. And these are all Brazilian names. That's why I know to ignore them. iTub, that's Petrobras, Vale. So I'm guessing there's some kind of imbalances over in Brazil, and that's why you're seeing all these big, massive sell side on the New York dual listed stocks there. So everything flipped to a sell at 355, and the market came back in.
I'm surprised that the
Wow,
sell number,
TSM.
the imbalance number was actually 715 million sell, but it flipped at the end of the number to a 4 billion buy. And here we are with the largest candle going into the close on the NASDAQ futures is to the downside. So where exactly is this move? Is it to the upside? Is it to the downside? Is it continuing to go sideways? Does that 4 billion not mean anything? Does the first 1 billion not mean anything? So where exactly is the move? Where are the buyers? Where are the sellers? Obviously, you heard Neil just now mention that there is the triple witching, so options expiring. It's a Friday. You got the monthly options, the quarterly options, the monthly, the quarterly, and the weekly, right?
Well,
those are the ones that expire.
It's single stock, single futures. It's the instruments that actually.
So they all expired today, and that needs to be people are either exercising their options or they're selling their options, which means any options trader who hasn't already bought the shares, they usually hedge it a long time ago. But anyone who hasn't bought the shares, they will be running to the market and the closing minutes to go buy those shares that they're about to get exercised on. So lots of reasons for the market to bring in some volume going into the close over here to wrap off this wonderful Friday for this wonderful week that we've been having.
I gotta just clarify something because everyone's talking about witching. So someone's saying triple witching is December. So quad witching is every quarter. So
quad witching. I was wondering like
what
you meant by triple.
Quad witching is quarterly.
Yeah.
Triple witching happens at the third Friday of every single month. So every third Friday. And you always, anytime the month starts on a Friday, if the first is a Friday, it's easy to forget because it'll be like the mid-month. So suddenly you'll have the third Friday be like the 15th, and it's like, oh, it's not the third Friday. So I always have to remember that when the first of the month is a Friday, and I always forget the triple witching comes early. But quad witching, correct, is the absolute bigger one, guys.
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for that when it comes to. We got about 2 minutes left here. So as I said, hopefully you guys know that. So third Friday every single month, and then every single quarter, the third Friday is quadruple witching when you get the really, really big moves to the upside or downside. But man, look at what happened. Like, look at TSM. When those imbalances flipped, it just went from top. And thankfully, and remember, I was getting out. I had my order set to get out. That's just it. It is what it is. I was going to get out in front. If it came out of buy and balance and followed through, then I'm getting out here and it goes to 83. Now, that only looks good on a 50-50 coin flip, right? I was getting out there anyways. So like either some days that you get out there and it looks perfect, and then flip a coin. The other days you get out here and it goes 40, 50 cents higher. That's the reality. So I'm not going to sit here pretending that's a perfect fill or anything like that, but that's what can happen at the end of the day, and why you usually want to have profit targets and why you want to have trailing stops at this time. You always hear me say around the imbalances that I had trailing stops. 1 minute to go, and sorry?
I'm going to reveal my face if you rap.
Oh. Okay, no, I'll rap whatever I want to. So basically, you guys, we didn't get to 1.5 likes or 2K.
We need more likes, guys. Get the likes.
Fahad just said that if I do it anyways, that he'll reveal his face. So Fahad's going to be on the bell today. And if you get to see Fahad's face for the first time ever, then I will drop something. But I'm going to do what I like, Fahad. He's like, do something good. I'm like, no, I'll do whatever I want. So 30 seconds to go here. Apparently, you guys are going to see Fahad's face for the first time ever, which is, although I think, if you watch every single day, I think you know that you probably got to see it at least once. At least once, you guys know.
I'm crying right now because I was whispering in the mic. I was going, hit the like button, hit the like. And the people in the chat was like, God, is that you? God, who's talking to me right now? That's hilarious. I love this
So here
chat.
comes Fahad in 4, 3, 2, and 1.
That's not revealing your face, bro. All right, fine. That's better. That's better.
There he is.
We finally got the reveal of
Fahad,
Fahad himself.
That's
Let's
Fahad.
go.
So let's get this one out of the way so we can get down to business. Brendan, it's 4 o'clock. The market just went haywire, but I know where it finished. Officially, how did we do today, Brendan?
My data feed is a little bit delayed, but we can show you the final numbers here, guys, as we head into the weekend. I was just double checking whether or not it was going to be a positive week, and it looks like it's not going to quite be for the S&P and the NASDAQ, but the Dow, I think, got there. So positive, I believe. I'll double check again, but for the Dow only. S&P and NASDAQ basically flat on the week. TSX here in Toronto positive as well to end. As we mentioned, back to just 1.7 there for crude oil. But a choppy day was expected, and a choppy day we got, guys.
Shorter. So before we get into this, I saw you guys say that Fahad looks like Adam Driver, Kylo Ren from the new crappy Star Wars film. He's absolutely great, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars, but he's actually pretty cool. Like Adam Driver. But Fahad, he's like doing something that I like. I'm gonna do whatever I like to. I've had one in mind for a while. And if anybody can guess why I'm doing it, I've probably said it a couple of times, what my favorite group is, and you're going to be fooled because it's not a rap group, but there's a rap in it. Cause that's my peeps and we rolls deep, flying first class from New York City to Blackstreet. What you know about me? Absolutely not a thing. Cartier golden rings sported by my shorty. As for me, I see gleaming picky diamond rings. We be's the baddest click up on this scene. Ain't you getting bored of these fake day broads? My show will improve, no doubt. I predicting me so. Please excuse if I come across rude, that's just me. And that's how a player's gots to be. Stay kicking game with a capital G. Ask my peoples on the block, I'm as real as can be. Word is bond. Faking moves never been my thing. Yo, Teddy, pass a word to your player Chauncey. I'll be sending the call, say around 3:30. Kingpin and Blackstreet, no diggity.
Let's go. My mic is muted. I think there was a problem with it.
So anyways, I actually am a really big R&B fan, and Blackstreet is my favorite group. Seen them live. Teddy Riley is the jam. So that's why I had to do that one. Fahad probably wanted me to do I know you wanted me to do 50 Cent or something like that. I'm not doing Lil Wayne. Fahad's in my ear. He's like, do a milli. There's certain things that are not happening. I am not doing any justice to Lil Wayne. There's absolutely no chance I can do Wheezy. It's like,
oh, come on, you could do Wheezy.
It's legit, man. I was in Syracuse when Lollipop came on, and when that was the summer that was a joint, I was in Syracuse at the college campus bar, and when that song came on, wow. Wow. The beat just, when that came out, I was like, you kidding me, man? I wish I was in school at that age. I was too old, though. But anyways, thank you guys so much. It's been a heck of a great show. I think we learned a lot here. Thank you so much for stepping in, Prad. We fist bump, get it right. He's stepping in. Luca did a fantastic job. Ian, Sharif on the midday show. I know usually we put the $3 up so we can end it off here. But everybody doing a great job. In Sean's stead, of course, there is Brendan in the fantastic sweater, by the way. I haven't noted how good the sweater is. I need a haircut. Yours is always, I don't understand how you do that. You guys got to see Fahad for the first time. I think that's pretty amazing. And Lucas, as always, hard at work. Today, Randy actually put in some work today. I think he was fixing the desk. So good for you, Randy. Mark, as always, the entire team. Liz, Katrine, Justin. For everybody, I'm Neil. That's Brendan. This is Prad. We're Trader TV Live, and we'll see you next week.